Hello and welcome to Infamous, the audio podcast. This is Brandon, or Mutilus on Discord.
This is Parker, go by One Who Parks on Discord.
This is Jeremy, go by just Jeremy on Discord, and I have COVID again.
Wow, flagging us right out the gate. Go ahead, Aaron.
Yeah, we're already fucking flagged.
We were really trying not to get the banner already.
We got the banner.
Have a lot of blue banners.
Aaron, please go.
And this is Aaron.
Oh, no.
I go by, Jeremy might have COVID, but he does make good MCP lists on Discord.
Aww.
I feel like that's a lie, though.
It's not a lie.
I think it's truth.
Okay, we'll talk.
If we get flagged, we get flagged for truth.
We get flagged for the truth.
Yeah. The truth flag.
Truth flag.
All right, so we've got some convenient numbers coming up. Parker, you're finally under 2,600. You're down to 2,599.
Woo! And falling.
Just 400 more episodes. You'll be 500 more episodes. 2099. Is that your favorite Spider-Man? 2099.
Yes, it is. There you go. Well done.
There you go. So 500 more of these, and boy, we got it.
Mm-hmm.
Other announcements. Let's see here. We have our Patreon. Link is in the description. And then also, we've teased this previously, but officially we are announcing our partnership with News on Minis. If you want to get any of our cool Infamous products, you can go over to News on Minis. There is a link in the show notes also that will let you know that we sent you over there. Other than that, Parker, we got anything else?
We have some news.
Hey,
news! Yes.
News.
So some news today. It's pretty small and short and sweet. We have the date for and the schedule for the Atomic Mass Games Miniextravaganza 2023. It's going to happen Thursday, September 14th, and a couple different highlights. If you're looking to tune in on the first day, which is Thursday, there is at 5:30 Pacific something called Marvel Crisis Protocol: The Path of the Worthy.
That's relating to their painting competition.
Oh, okay. I was going to say, I felt like that rings a bell. That's their painting competition.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. They have this giant. At least last year, they had this giant Odin statue at Adepticon.
Right. That's right. Otherwise, it's there's a roadmap at 9:30 in the morning, and roadmap is that for like models? Is that for the roadmap of the weekend?
Roadmap should be news about what's coming in the future.
Oh, okay. So roadmap's probably going to be a lot of information probably dropped in the roadmap. You should expect that on Thursday in the morning.
Roadmap is fairly comparable to a keynote usually.
Mm-hmm. Friday, the day after that. Another MCP drop will be Evolving Crisis Response at 3 o'clock Pacific. Not sure what that means, but maybe alluding to how Crisis are going to be changing.
Yeah, I'm very excited to see what that means. Excited and dreading, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I'm really worried the missions are going to change again. Not that I don't want the missions to be tweaked a bit, I'm just worried they're going to get a complete shakeup.
I don't mind. The word evolving... some people immediately meant it to mean revolving. They put an R in the front of it, and they went, they're going to make Crisis move around all the time. And I was like, no, they could just be, this is the next stage of Crisis, like we did once before.
Maybe, fingers crossed, they'll fix spider portals for the first time ever.
Mm-hmm. I think they're always going to make spider portals with Kooky Dukes. Why is it that, at least this is in our corner of the internet, as soon as people said Evolving Crisis Response, immediately people went, oh man, now they're finally going to fix Researcher. Finally, Researcher gets fixed. What? When did Researcher earn this hate that it needs to be fixed so bad?
I think Researcher was a problem before they changed it the first time. Now I think it's probably fine.
Okay. Then on Saturday, the only thing of note in terms of upcoming content is game modes galore. So that's at 3 p.m. on Saturday Pacific time. Game modes galore.
I expect that's when we'll get the hard details on how the timeline event works.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe even more event types.
Right. Because I can't remember when they debuted the
Battle Royale.
Yeah, Battle Royale, but also they have a draft system, right? That they created once, and
that's Battle Royale.
Oh, that's what Battle Royale is, to the draft system. Yeah. I thought there was another one they had as well. I've never touched the other one, but
I think so.
on the website. I think there's there. But anyway, yep.
They should also probably at that point talk about upcoming scenario interactions with terrain, which they teased back at Adepticon with the Rivals panel box, which should be again forthcoming. I'm guessing November. Black Panther and Killmonger. So anyway, there's my tinfoil hat. Is the part of the crisis changes will be how new terrain is interactable and does doing cool things within the game.
Cool.
That tank better not fucking shoot me.
It's gonna
God.
shoot you.
Oh, so you mean like you can play certain scenarios might require certain kinds of terrain? Is what you're saying, or
Like there will be, I think what I don't quote me. Well, you can quote me, but I may not be right. Like there's a maglev with vibranium in it, and if you're able to interact with the truck carrying vibranium, you get like a bonus based off of whatever the vibranium interactable terrain piece is, like +1 die for the turn. I don't know. I have no clue. But supposedly they're adding interactable terrain rules, not throwing terrain, but like I said, you interact with terrain, you get a bonus from it.
Terrain that will have special rules and do different things within the game. And some of those things might involve interacting with the mission in some way. Like, maybe you get to re-roll a pay to flip or something if you have, like, interacted with this other piece of terrain or something. Who knows?
Or there's a bunker, you get to add 1 to your defense dice while you're, fully within it. Like, who knows? Sky's the limit on... So I'm actually kind of excited for that aspect because they could do so many cool and unique things. I'm anticipating not very many cool and unique things, but again, just sky's the limit on where they could go with this.
I would be pleasantly surprised, and I would be interested in something like a scenario card saying, if you play this scenario, add 2 bunker tokens to the board or something like that, like you're suggesting. I think that's a cool idea. I just hope it's tokens. I hope it's actually not terrain pieces that you have to have with you in order to play certain scenarios. I think that would be a really weird move for people to have to carry terrain with their list and their cards. I think it's an odd step. It's something they could do, but
I do not expect it to be like terrain that you buy as part of your list. Right. I just expect it will be terrain to have rules.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it's like, oh, we're playing with a perfect example might be the Quinjet. There's a Quinjet on the table. Mm-hmm. Well, everyone knows because it's core rules now that if you're within range 1 of a Quinjet, you can make a energy interact roll, and if you get 2 successes, you can fire the Quinjet missile or something as an example. Mm-hmm. Like something weird like that. Or maybe just while you're within range 1 of the Quinjet, you get cover. Because of, like, energy stealth or something. Maybe, you could get stealth while you're within range 1 of something. Who knows?
If you get close to the woods, a Green Knight will come out.
Yeah.
If you're close to a cloud, Gorman will come out.
Yeah.
Didn't make a crit.
Oh, sorry, you tripped and fell into the blood river, so your guy dissolved. Like, what?
Oh, no!
Yeah.
I feel like X-Wing did a good job with like the different categories of terrain with the asteroids and the clouds and the debris. Like each one felt a little bit different. I liked that in that game you got to choose your terrain, but again, they were all tokens. You didn't have to like carry around stuff like that. I hope that. I guess what I'm saying is I hope that if I go to a tournament in a game store, game stores will have the opportunity to have these terrain settings out if they make something like that, rather than they need to invest in it. And if some games first don't, they just don't, or some events don't. Or like LVO, where they made all that awesome, super cool custom terrain. It was all so pretty, but if it doesn't interact with the rules at all, it would be kind of a waste. So here's hoping.
Anything else for news?
That's about it right now. Not until Thursday, September 14th. I bet it'll be nice and chill until then.
Yeah, nice and quiet. So moving on, it takes us into currently playing. Speaking of cool and interesting lists, why don't you guys tell us about Jeremy's Cabal list?
Jeremy, that's you.
I mean...
It's a secret. You don't have to tell us.
No,
It's a secret.
No. Basically, Red Skull 1 had me intrigued. I started looking at the idea of, okay, what if Cosmic Invigoration was released now? And I think that would be the most insane card ever, and people would freak the fuck out. So, and his leadership is also really, really good. He has a place. He has power generation, and the biggest gripe that people have about him is he doesn't necessarily create a lot of power on his own, aside from his ability to place things, and then he becomes kind of broke. If that's what you do all game, is he becomes broke. So I wasn't liking the fact that Cabal was leaning heavy on bring big guys, smash face, kind of move forward, and I was getting torn apart by heavy control and wide lists. So I decided to see if Cabal could go wide. So I started playing Red Skull, and then after some tweaking and stuff, I came up with Red Skull, Malekith, and sprinkle a bunch of models in there. One of my favorite additions was Scourge, who has been a huge role player. That guy just kicks ass with taunt and everything else. The list does a shitload of damage. It has so many abilities to... it can charge the center line of the table on turn 1. It can place Malekith twice and charge your back table edge if it wants to. It just, the amount of play variables that it can do is really how I enjoy playing the game. I don't like turn 1 setups of this is what my list does turn 1. I like to be able to go, here's all the tools in my bag. What do I feel like I want to do right now? And what does that look like? And it really does that. You can kind of piece together everything you want to.
Yeah. Despite having a lot of turn 1 plays, it's not scripted, right? You're adapting to the situation. Yeah, it's not just, okay, well, I played Spirit of Wakanda, so every card I have and every model I have is just Spirit of Wakanda printed on a table. It's like, no, it's actually, I'm adapting to every situation that I'm seeing. So, like, I might place him forward. I might give power to him with, like, either advanced R&D or somebody else, like maybe a Wong.
Yeah.
Scourge can play advanced R&D and hand out multiple power. That way it opens up multiple lines of play, like Zemo can charge turn 1 and Malekith can charge turn 1. Because Scourge doesn't even need his power on the first turn. Or you can just keep your power, double move Scourge to the middle on something like Researcher and threaten a taunt. It's not even unlikely that you could play Cosmic Invigoration on the first turn. Because you can just activate Red Skull, get your power, move forward, not even spend to place anybody, and then Malekith goes, moves up, beams somebody, next activation you just immediately play Cosmic Invigoration and charge them. Like,
I mean,
so
Red Skull having 4 power on turn 1 is not a small thing. It kind of blows things apart when the first turn is Red Skull moves up, R&D's 3 power onto 3 models. One of them's Malekith, one of them's Heimdall, and one of them is, it doesn't matter, Zemo. A model that's going to charge. And then suddenly you place Malekith up, and he's charging, and Zemo's going to charge as well. So it's like, holy shit. It just, the thing just has gas. It really does. And I've just had nothing but fun with it. I don't know to what depths it is. And how far it can go. It doesn't have. I don't run it with any Steelers because it's a WTC list that I'm working with, so it doesn't use any Steeler models. So I'm kind of relying on the fact that I'm going to take them back or attempt to table, which I haven't really been running that much, but it's more of get the points and just dig in there and grind it out. But that's kind of the weakness.
I'm curious. Are you running OG Sabretooth in there? I'm just curious.
No.
Okay.
No, I didn't know if it has Killmonger.
Okay.
Brandon, the list really needs proactive models.
Right. I was going to say, Sabretooth seemed like, in terms of like Red Skull going way over the top with stuff, he seems like he can just kill the world. Well, he can kill the world. The problem is, he's so static.
Yeah, he needs
He's so static.
If he had charge,
your opponent will literally never attack him.
He just doesn't charge. Yeah,
he's the least dangerous model in the list, exactly. and he kind of just stands around.
You essentially either have charge or you have a place effect in my list. That's what you have. So it's either a Heimdall or a charging model.
Aaron's not here, so I'm going to put words in his mouth. He told me that he was not a fan of Heimdall in the list. He really likes Scourge and pretty much everyone else. He just wasn't a fan of Heimdall because he does very little work in most games. And so he seems like 100% a support model. And the whole point of the list, he felt, was that everyone does two things. And Heimdall doesn't do two things, really. He just does one thing.
We were talking about that. I think one of the problems that when he plays a little bit more, I don't know. I take risks that he doesn't, and when I take the risks, you guys
definitely have opposite play styles. You do not play the same way.
And when I take the risks, I want to make sure I have the rerolls for it. So that's really what it is there for. Also, I like Heimdall for the place. So the turn 1 place I like a lot, but now Aaron's back, so he can speak on it. We're talking about Aaron, the Heimdall in my list.
Yeah, isn't it true that you said that you thought it was a terrible ad and completely worthless?
Not talking to you, Brandon. What question did you have, Jeremy?
What Brandon said.
We were just talking about the list and everything, and that the only model you were saying that was not your favorite was Heimdall, because it's a support model and not a...
Yeah, I was much nicer when I said it the first time.
I'm sure you were. Sure. So I am not in love with him, right? I could see testing games without him. I think even if he stays in the list, he's not in every game type of model. I loved him in the first game, so I don't know what you guys talked about it. So I took Jeremy's list to a tournament down in Springfield.
We didn't talk about that.
Okay. Do we want to at some point, like now, or
you can follow up and talk about it right now?
You can mention.
Okay. I covered the list.
Okay. So round 1, I played into Shield at 19 points, and it was fucking glorious. Played into Patrick, who's a really good player, great guy, and I owned him like I have never owned anyone in this game before. I mean, I bent him over and fucked him till I was raw.
Ooh!
Wow, we're gonna be R-rated after today.
Wow.
Yeah. And it was all only. It was all, porting up Mal, Scourge R&Ds to Mal and Heimdall. Heimdall double moves and he's sitting on the middle with 3 power. Malekith goes and kills Bucky and the agents and ends the turn with 9 power because
Jesus Christ.
I beamed to kill them both with the charge ferocity first and then a beam. And the beam generates 4 power by itself, assuming you do damage. It was pretty sick. And then I go the next turn, and I'm just murdering 1.5 models every turn. A ferocity and then butcher, and then end up based on the butcher, like on the far right side. It was the list in all of its glory. Could not have worked any better. And he was just blown off the table. In a very low scoring game, I won the game 17-2.
Yeah.
Yeah, that first turn blitz is
appreciative
really strong.
That you told that story on the podcast.
I'm sure he does. Love you, Patrick.
Yeah. Unsubscribed. He hasn't made it this far because he unsubscribed already and deleted the episode.
Smash that unsubscribe button, everyone.
For all of Patrick's friends, please tell him that I apologize for Aaron's actions.
He didn't do anything wrong. Other than like keep Bucky behind your deployment line. I mean, it's weird when you're playing against like the cat dog list, which is what the list is, just with Red Skull instead.
It's ass dog.
But it is the extreme threat protection that it enables is pretty good. Then Bullseye is able to spender turn 2 by himself
because he gets 2 per attack.
Yeah. So
however,
he powers up for 2.
Go ahead. He doesn't get the Red Skull leadership if you spend for the
he does not. No,
which is funny.
Correct. So you have to on your first attack turn 2, you have to actually do damage, which I did into Iron Man. He negates down to 1. Like whatever, I've got 4 power. Let's see how far you can negate down to 1. Take a pincushion. So I really think
you don't, because it's 4, right? So if you just walk forward to like a B and shoot somebody and deal a damage, you go into turn 2 with 4 power.
Sure, this was a case where I had the double move because it was intrusions.
Yeah.
Anyway, so Red Skull 1 turns on a lot of other things about the list, and I like that a lot. But back to the original point, Heimdall worked really well in this particular setup because we were playing high enough points, and he could afford to just sit there and be much more efficient in terms of forefending people away. Horfund?
Horfund.
Whichever.
Horfund is his spender.
Yeah, Horfunding people away with the spender, pushing them medium. Patrick's like, what? How far does he push me? I'm like, yeah, GTFO. And Scourge, like, taunted, like, all of Iron Man's attacks into Mal. So the list just performed like chef's kiss. Could not have been better. However, I only ran Heimdall one more time, and it was a horrible call because it was an infinity formula. I probably shouldn't have run Mal. It was just too spread out. I couldn't give him the support he needed from all of the support models, i.e. Red Skull and Heimdall. And then after that, I just needed to get work done with models, and Heimdall is not a getting work done kind of model, if you will. Like, I played into a super tall list, Mal, CGR, and Red Skull 2.
What an idiot.
Yeah.
Who played that?
Yeah,
he's a fucking loser.
He's a fuckhead.
Heimdall is an enabler. Like, he enables a lot of play because he forces your opponent to do things they don't want to do, and then he does things himself for your support. But no, he's not a workhorse at all.
Yeah,
To be fair, go ahead.
I don't think he's bad at all. I just think you need to have the right scenario that gives you the right number of bodies, if that kind of makes sense. Into Brandon, I didn't play him because I wanted Zemo instead, because I wanted to R&D Zemo a power to enable a turn 1 charge onto Senators.
Yeah.
Which could potentially then give me another attack after it, right? Depending on where
for sure.
Brandon, if he chooses to get my Senator, like, I'll charge him, and then, if I get one damage through, I'll get an extra one with the leadership, and then be able to master Swordsman. Like, he has a lot of threat. So I wanted that instead of Heimdall.
It definitely affected my decision making.
So I don't think Heimdall is bad at all. I just think in order to get effective use out of him, you have to be forfending and horfunding. You can't just use him as a reroll bot. Realizing that you will use him as a reroll bot, but it absolutely has to be I'm not just going to use these rerolls to push damage through. Like, I'm going to use these rerolls if I have a chance to, like, take you from leaving you on 1 to dazing you. Like, that's important. So that's why I use a reroll. But it's not just because I have power, I spend it. So I think he's a little more nuanced. So I think he stays in the list. I don't like him as much as I think you like him. That was my point to Brandon earlier.
I haven't decided if I like him yet. I mean, because it's a 3 bubble instead of a 4, which makes a big difference. And you have to spend 2. You can't just spend 1.
Yeah.
So, like, it's dicey. Like, I can't say I love the guy. Like, he is one of those where you look down and you're like, he's not exactly in the spot you want him. He's not exactly the model you want. Like,
I think his greatest add for the list is if you end up playing on sword base, you can play Red Skull 2 and Heimdall, and you can just, like, own sword base, which could be really fun.
Yeah. I mean, that's okay. There's a lot of 3-point models like I've looked at. Like, I also have Mystique is who I'm going to be trying out this weekend, I think, in the list. I'm not sure who I'm switching for Mystique, and it might be Heimdall, actually. I don't know. We'll see.
Are there any other out-affiliation models on the list, or is it just right now Heimdall?
That's it.
Interesting.
There's 2. Isn't there 2?
I had Mordo in mine. You didn't have him in yours, so I'm not sure who's in the Mordo spot. Otherwise, Heimdall was the only one in the list I ran.
Oh, yeah.
It's pretty heavy Cabal.
Scourge is actually Cabal.
Scourge is actually Cabal, which is
funny.
Is Ulik in there? Tell me Ulik's in there.
No. I already have way too many expensive models. Ulik doesn't make the cut.
Yeah, Ulik's never going to push out Red Skull.
I actually
2.
think you need a more expensive model.
Really?
So I should have lost my game against Kenny. In
really?
the final because he went 3 wide and I went 4 wide. He just flubbed his Ghost Rider attack into Mal on his backside. And
I mean, who's still available?
Literally nothing matters but not giving up Prio if he dazes someone. So the key was he dazed Mal and still had Prio.
Yeah.
I just need to be able to go with Mal. So you have to match how wide or tall he is. So you have to go 3 wide at 17. So Mal, Red Skull 2 is 12.
6 points.
You need a 7. I think you add Immortal Hulk.
Isn't Mal plus Red Skull 11?
I was thinking Red Skull 2.
Oh, so you're dropping Red Skull 1 in that matchup.
Mal,
so
Red Skull
you
2.
have
And Immortal Hulk.
So you've got 5 points.
Then you just
Right.
need MODOK.
7 plus 5 is 12. That leaves you 5 points at 17.
Yeah, but we played it. He played 3 wide at 19. He also played a point down.
Yeah, he played the point down.
And it was absolutely the right call. Again, I should have lost if he just doesn't flub that one attack.
No, I'm just saying, you said you need to be able to go 3 wide at 17.
Oh, no, I
so
said,
I'm saying
sorry, 3 wide at 19.
Oh, at 19.
Yeah.
Then yeah, Immortal Hulk, because he's the other 7-point model. Or you can also be super cool and play a point down. And then your options are more open. Question mark.
Then you play CGR.
Yeah. But it should be Immortal Hulk, in my opinion.
And again, I would only play that list if my opponent is going super tall.
Mm-hmm. But the important thing to me is I think it puts people in a weird spot where they start trying to figure out how they beat a 3-wide list. And if they're worried about Immortal Hulk, they play a different list. And then you end up going wide, and they're just completely in the wrong spot.
Yep. Like I said, I didn't use whoever would have been in the Mordo spot at all. So that spot was open. Oh, I also wanted to say the list needs at least 2 more defensive cards in it.
Like fallback.
Yep. Probably fallback and escort. So I probably could have pulled it out against Kenny if I'd have had defensive cards. But
I like that.
Not being able to save Mal at all as he's getting dunked, other than hoping his dice failed, which he did, is a bad position to be in. So anytime you run a killy list, you really need your cards to focus on what your list doesn't do, which is defend.
You can hail Hydra to somebody and then escort them through you.
Yep.
Don't do that.
So currently I've got Red Skull, Malekith, Killmonger, Zemo, Red Skull, 1, Scourge, Bullseye, MODOK, Heimdall, Mystique.
You've already switched for Mystique.
Yeah, I switched out Baron, Mordo.
Yeah.
I think I should leave Mordo.
The only one I never used, so I didn't use 2 models at all. It was Killmonger and Mordo. But I'm pretty sure you need A4.
Yeah, I'm good with that. I'm good with this right here.
Okay.
So I'll take out Scuttlebutt. I don't need that.
I personally like me some Scuttlebutt. However, fallback is better.
I need fallback. You're right.
Yeah, you just need fallback. In the kaiju fight, fallback wins the game. So anyway, I've been playing the same old webs list. I have only changed that I took out Venom for Peter Parker 1, the superior Peter Parker that everyone should know. Peter Parker has won me several games already that Venom would not have. Peter Parker won Master Race. That's it.
I think it's really funny. I don't fear any Peter Parkers except precisely your Peter Parker. I have seen so many people play Peter Parker, and the OG Spider-Man, and they put him down, and I'm like, okay, let's see how it does. And they always just put him in some place that does nothing. I've never been able to kill yours. I think I flipped yours once. I've never been able to kill him, and he will literally affect like 3 scenario points every turn. You put him in a place so that I can't really proactively get him, so that you can activate him last, and then ruin 3 models' turn. And I'm just like, oh.
So the amazing thing for him is that when you look at him, you're like, he's just a subpar Gwen, and he is. But hear me out. You get to play 2 Gwens, which is not fair in any shape or form. The real thing, though, is that he does the same thing Gwen does. He is a fast-moving, interactive model where he's going to be displacing a lot of things on the table. He's got basically the same toolkit as Gwen, except instead of Lifesaver, he's got Spider Senses and an extra hit point. That allows you to play him in those aggressive spots that you actually want to put Gwen in, because she's the only person that can do those things. Mm-hmm. And having 2 people on the board with impact webbing and webline means that if you end up playing on a B, they have no chance of like realistically ever contesting any of the points.
Right.
And that completely turns scenarios on their head. Yeah. Anyway, it's been fun. I've so far not regretted my decision at all. And I guess we'll wait and see if it does well in the future. Aaron, can we officially put you down as playing Avengers?
For WTC?
Yeah, I mean, currently. Are you still, air quotes, Cabal?
I have no idea what I'll be playing this Saturday. I have no fucking clue.
Ooh. So I was not able to talk you into playing Guardians?
No, I can play Guardians. It's fine.
I mean, you can play whatever you want. I was just curious. I wanted to put it on the paper.
Oh. Yeah, no idea. Whatever list needs tested the most, I'll play.
Yeah, I'm gonna pencil you in for Guardians.
Okay. I'll let everyone know in 2.5 weeks how I did playing Guardians on Saturday.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, don't worry. I'm sure I'll have it on video.
Uh-huh.
I'll tell everyone. All right, Parker, are you still playing AIM Criminals with all the tactic cards that score?
I have been, although I did take out some of the tactics cards that score because I decided to go with Aaron's idea of trying Convocation. And so I changed the name of the list to one of my favorite criminals, magical syndicates from the Marvel Universe, the Blasphemy Cartel. And so it's half Convocation, half criminals. And I actually really liked it. I really like the feel of it. I think that it gets done all the things that Convocation wants to get done. I even managed to find a way to get Red Skull 2 into the list. And Red Skull 2 also likes the AIM affiliation. So if I don't want to play Doctor Strange, I think Red Skull also likes AIM. So, like, I feel like it actually it's funny. As soon as I started getting rid of the Shadowlands Daredevil switch, which was a bunch of criminals, and went for a bunch of Convocation models, it actually helped both lists. I think that's what I'm going to do on Saturday, because I really want to put it against a wide variety of lists. I want to see somebody try to play D with it, and so I can try to spread out with Convocation and try that style. The only thing right now I'm staring at is I really need one more 3-point criminal to play with the AIM list. I think I have the ability to take out Baron Mordo from the Convocation list for that spot. I don't know when I would play Baron Mordo for the Convocation list. I think I have plenty. I'm considering actually replacing Baron Mordo with Taskmaster, which, like, ostensibly, like, you're like, okay, these two characters go on your list. Which one goes in, Baron Mordo or Taskmaster? You're like, well, clearly it's Baron Mordo. He has so much more utility, so many more things that he does. Obviously, it's Baron Mordo. But in terms of what the list needs, it would really like a switch hitter that is also exactly a criminal.
Well, I can just tell you from playing a lot of Convocation, if you're not playing Mordo, you're basically not playing Convocation, in my opinion. Like, even if you get technically affiliated with Rogue Agent, he can't play any of the tactics cards, which is really going to hurt your ability to function.
Okay.
Because Books has to be played by a Convocation member. Playing a Poldak has to be played by a Convocation member. I doubt you're playing Cagliostro, but if you're playing that, it also only affects a Convocation member.
I am playing Cagliostro.
Okay, then it's kind of okay for that one. It's not the worst, but it's questionable. The fact that he is not getting a benefit from Books is whatever. It's not the worst. Actually, he's one of the worst Mystic defenders in your list because he's got Martial Artist. But it's okay to not go all in on Mystic. I think if you're not playing, like, I have times when I'm playing 3 out of 5 Convocation members and I'm still hurting for somebody that doesn't need to waste power.
Right.
And as considering Baron Mordo can just generate power out of nothing, that's brutal that you're losing potentially. Because if you're spending 2 or 3 power a turn off of Strange to play Books, you have a problem. He's just not going to do anything.
Okay. The only when I wanted to play AIM, because I had a game last week where I really wanted to play AIM because of the scenario setup, but the point value was kind of odd, and so I ended up basically I really would like another Criminal 3. It worked out okay because I have Bullseye and Killmonger to make 6, so it's not impossible. But basically, if I need 6 points precisely for whatever package I'm trying to draw from, basically I'm locked into Killmonger Bullseye, which is not a terrible problem unless I would really like 2 3s. That's the idea.
Yeah, I think in that situation you should be leaning into Killmonger Bullseye. That's a pretty good package.
Yeah. It doesn't make it impossible. I just wanted a little more flexibility, and I saw myself wondering when Baron Mordo gets played, but I think your point is apt.
I actually really like Taskmaster. I think he's underplayed. It's just I don't think he works in Convocation.
Okay. Oh, after playing it a lot and playing against people, MODOK Scientist Supreme does not say give your models pierce once a turn, but it feels like it says give your models pierce once a turn. That's what it feels like. After playing a lot of X-Force and a little bit of Weapon X. I feel like AIM feels like that. Only you also get it on defense once per turn.
Yeah, you basically get to spike one roll a turn.
Right.
That's nice.
It is. It is. It feels really good.
Alrighty. So let's see what's next. So we had talked about in the news that they're going to be talking about their multiple game modes moving forward, and they've previously teased their timeline event, which I believe the first event that's going to be at is at Adepticon. Is that right? Is it also going to be at LVO?
No,
Not LVO.
Just Adepticon.
Mm-hmm.
Aaron, did you have some thoughts about the timeline event?
Yeah. So Parker started off with, I think, some negative commentary that you can get back to in a second.
Sure.
And I was going to take the opposite stance. So I will say that from a lot of what I've heard and read, I think there's a lot of people who are very down on AMG's timeline stance. I initially kind of joined them a little bit, but then I was like, you know what? Am I doing this just because it's cool to poo-poo like an organization or whatnot? And I was like, maybe I am. So let me take a step back and kind of take a look at what they're trying to do here. The concept is, are you mastering MCP by getting good with one list, or are you mastering MCP by getting good with multiple lists? And I can throw some support behind the second. Like, let's see how well you can master the breadth of MCP as opposed to the the depth in one specific scenario or faction or whatnot. I still have some concerns with how they're going to implement it. For instance, 4 affiliations and not a full model pool. Like, what does that mean? Because if I have to create 3 lists out of a very limited pool, what's the chance that those lists are going to be different when I build them versus Parker versus Jeremy versus Brandon, et cetera, et cetera? Like, you're really just homogenizing list building for this event, and that kind of sucks. So if that ends up being the end result, I won't be very happy. But if we're playing those 4 affiliations with a lot of models that aren't in those affiliations that could be splashed in them, for instance, what I have heard is this first one might be like Earth's heroes and villains. So everyone who's not on Earth isn't included. Like, okay, does that mean that I can splash Red Skull in Avengers? Or something to that effect, right? Is there enough model availability to make list building fun, interesting, and dynamic? If the answer is yes, I think I can absolutely get behind this type of format. Break.
Anybody else want to go next?
I am also nervous about getting in the poo-poo train, and I've tried to, anytime I've made a comment on Discord or anything like that, always put a huge asterisk before or below my comment, which is, I really want to see the official rules before I, cast terrible doubt. But I can tell you personally, my problem is what you were alluding to there with the homogenization of the event. I really don't like it when I show up to an event and, and 4 other players are playing my affiliation. Even if they're not playing even if we're all playing Avengers, and I know that, there's so many different Avengers, and we may not even have the same models. A quarter of the models might be different in every list. I still don't even like that. I love exploring all the different parts of the game, but I really like variety. One of the reasons I go to tournament is because I hope I see a variety. And knowing that I'm going to go into the opposite of variety, let's hope it's not, but if it is, I will just not want to do that. In the same way that I am immediately saddened and I am immediately down if I accidentally play the same affiliation as 3 other people at even a small event. I don't enjoy that. I want there to be variety in events, and it's just a personal thing. That is a personal taste thing, and I understand that's not for everybody. It's not a statement about games in general. Just like personally, 100%. If they say you can only play these 4 affiliations, and the pool is these 4 affiliations plus rogue agents, I'm going to go, cool, that's not for me. You guys have fun. I don't want to play the same affiliations as 60 other people. That's not what I want to do. And I have all the models and I like all the affiliations, but I'm not going to enjoy that. Let's hope it's not that.
Jeremy, do you have thoughts?
I'm good either way. If everyone shows up with the same things, I don't mind playing checkers, chess, whatever you want to call it. You have the same thing I do. That's fine. I like variety too. Like I'd rather not play Malekith versus Malekith, but also if you're going to play Malekith and I'm got Malekith, I'll prove that I'm a better player than you. That's fine. Either way, I don't care. Like, I want to get models on the table, and if this is a way to shake it up, and what I don't like seeing is table after table of miscellaneous, and it's just not great. And then you're like, oh shit, a Sam player, an Avenger player, or an X-Men player. It's just a blitz. And you kind of see it, and it is, and the player's not that great, or whatever, and you just get beat because the list is just so goddamn strong. If this eliminates that, I'm fine with it. That's fine. I'm okay with that. I'd rather play a different format than play against the same shenanigans. The shenanigans of this game annoys me, not what I line up against necessarily.
Okay. Yeah, I think it is somewhat advertised as a balancing factor that, like, we won't have to worry about balancing things outside of this pool necessarily. Obviously that's not the main intent. What am I trying to say here? There's a lot of ways you can get a perfectly balanced game. Very few of them are fun. It's like a long time ago in like historical miniatures gaming, basically everything was just the same stuff. Like spearmen are this, they have these rules. It doesn't matter whose spearman it is. Spearmen, they do this. And then we're at the point now where everything is so unique and interesting and flavorful that it's hard to rein those rules in sometimes. And obviously, it gets away from game designers sometimes, like Voodoo. Like, if you want a perfectly balanced game, just ban everything but 10 models, and the game is perfectly balanced, but it's not fun. And so, I think trying to hit the right, metric on all of that stuff is important. I am actually just generally for new formats in general in every game. Sometimes new formats are super fun. Sometimes they're not. And, you don't play the ones that aren't. I'm very excited. When information comes out, I might go negative, but we'll see. Like you guys were saying, it's really just all about, do they hit like the the amount of models available correctly? Like, if you go and it's like, okay, well, these 4 factions are allowed, but there's only 15 models in each faction, or like, God forbid they choose a stupid faction like X-Force or Inhumans that have like 7 models, and you're just like, great, thanks guys. Like, hey, look, Winter Guard's on the list this time. Sweet, so all 4 of their models are legal? That's great. And it's just like, what are we supposed to do? Like, maybe it'll be like that, but I doubt it. I'm excited to see what it is.
What you would hope...
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I was just saying, I think too many people are immediately going negative. I like the idea of it's a 3-day event. And again, we don't know the specifics, but a lot of people are turned off by that. And it's like, yeah, but going to an event where you're playing, like we used to go to War Machine events where it was like multiple heats over several days, and then like the top 4 of each event would make the finals tournament. And so you had multiple attempts to make like the finals, and they might do something similar to that. Like maybe the first 2 days, anyone who places in either event get in, and then the third day is just a Masters format. Like, that could be cool. Or maybe 3-day event feeds into a small master tournament. There's all kinds of ways you can do it. You could also just do like, you got to do well with all these different things to win, and that's fine too. But the important thing would be, obviously, if it's a like lose once and you're eliminated, but you're not out of the event, that would be kind of disheartening, because then you've got 2 more days to play that you've already been disqualified for winning. And so, like, I think a lot of people lose interest over that 2-day period when there's a lot of other stuff going on at a large convention. So I guess we'll see. But if they just have like strong side events, like if you sign up for this event on Friday, you play in it, and you're like, oh, I didn't make it. I lost 2 of my games. Like, that's fine. Now on Saturday, you go play in this other event. Like, that could be super fun.
What?
So,
I'm sorry, I think I kept interrupting you because I think you're done.
No, it's fine. Go.
What I think we would love to see, and if I'm, trying to put my dev hat on and trying to imagine, what you would love to see is like innovation and, a spinning wheel, right? Where you're purposely, as game developers, as designers of the format, they're going, okay, if we're all pretty sure this is the best version of the game, if this is the meta, let's go ahead and change the availability of models and make a different setup, and then people will innovate is what they'll do. However, I feel that if you tell me, in what is it, next month, what it's going to be, and you give me till Adepticon to figure it out, I think there will already be a group decision about what is actually the best version of that. And that's what I'm nervous about. Is that Adepticon, by the time we get there, there will not be an innovation, and all the innovation is done because internet groupthink has taken over. They've already done a couple TTS leagues using the rules, and everyone has decided this is the best version of these 4 lists. You play these 3 lists in this order, or you choose the order. Maybe that's your decision, but that's it. Like, just play these 3 lists. What else are you playing? And that is,
if they don't do a large enough pool to allow some kind of like meta rotation where it's like paper, rock, scissors, or that's really the biggest part. If they do a small enough format that's overly constrictive, that fear is 100% going to be reality. And I would say probably 60 to 75% of people show up with effectively the exact same list. Now, some of the other people will just be different to be different, and not everyone likes groupthink, and some people will try to counter it with a list built specifically to counter the groupthink. But if the pool isn't big enough, you won't be able to do that. So I'm worried that would be the case. But we haven't seen the rules yet.
I don't think the format's going to be popular enough for there to be quote-unquote groupthink in TTS leagues. Like, that's not going to happen.
Oh, you don't think so?
I don't think you even need the TTS leagues. Sure. I just think that if they said, hey guys, these 4 factions and these 50 models are legal, a week later all the lists are built.
I concur with you. So I think that's my problem. My fear is that we're all going to show up at the same list because that's what makes sense. Yeah. What I would really love is if they... So first of all, don't make any changes to any model or affiliation availability and just say 3-day event, new list every day, unique models.
And even then,
what the fuck is wrong with that?
You'll see a lot of repetition even with that. Like having 170 models available.
Sure.
You'll still see a lot of repetition.
You'll see the same repetition that you do for the generic con itself.
Yeah.
Like, you're still going to have the affiliations that are overrepresented because they're good. But, like, I just went to NashCon, and I think there were only 3 affiliations not present out of 53. So a bunch of people were playing shit that they just wanted to play, even though it wasn't super meta.
Oh, I think that's still going to be true, but the thing I see happening is that a lot of people are comfortable with, 2 factions, probably, and then the last one's always going to be, a meta pick, right?
Sure, but what they're comfortable with will vary from person to person. Like, it's not...
Even if you just triple the numbers, the ratio stays the same, but I don't think that's what would happen. I think the additional lists people would be playing would either be to share, because you can't duplicate models at all, is that what they said?
Correct.
Or just you can't duplicate affiliation?
Cannot duplicate models.
Okay. So then I think immediately you would just see people going, okay, well, I'll also just play the 2 best lists in the format. And then even if we just said we're going to take the same group of people, make them play 3 different lists that don't share models, they would just immediately go, okay, well, I'll just jam in an Avengers list and an X-Men list because they don't really share any models.
Maybe, but let's give them the benefit of the doubt before that happens.
True.
Maybe.
That's just what I'd foresee happening.
Sure.
Which, again, I'm not directly against. I'm just saying it might create unfun meta.
And I'm actually totally fine with that scenario if you give the entire thing, because I think you'll still get variety. Even in that situation, you'll still have variety. Because you'll still get I'm going to give a random number here and say 40% of players that will specifically go off Avengers, X-Men, and do things like Web Warriors because they see their potential and they want to try it, and then they'll be able to succeed with that. I think that's what you get when you get every single model and affiliation available. Well, as soon as you get 4 affiliations available, and that's just too small. The pool is so shallow. There's just not enough. It's clear what floats and what sinks. It's really obvious. So we'll see.
I think the fun thing is going to be that there's some affiliations will be horribly unpopular in this format, even if they're allowed, because their affiliations are built off of a amalgamation of other affiliations models.
Exactly.
Like Guardians shares a ton of models. Midnight Sun shares a ton of models. All of those are going to be basically scratched off because you can't duplicate.
Also, there's affiliations that really love taking advantage of their their model set and their leadership with other out affiliation models, like Inhumans, for example.
Mhm.
Like if they ever put Inhumans in a pool, you how do you play Inhumans as Inhumans? You're already talking about the fact they don't have that many models, but even if they don't, even with their models, they love to take 3 Inhumans and then some interesting out of affiliation ways to make the power sharing useful.
Mhm.
It's really difficult to do that. Anyway, we don't have to beat this dead horse, but I want to see the rules, and I'm really hoping it's not. I can go to Adepticon and feel good about going to Adepticon.
Yeah. I think we're all pretty much on the same page of we want more information, and we're not currently negative.
Yeah.
Except for Jeremy, who is massively negative.
I am not negative, you motherfucker.
Alrighty. Next up, we were going to talk about timers last week, but we decided to push it to this week. So we're going to talk about game mode timers and using them at events. So no surprises. We're all for chess clocks. So we'll just get that out of the way and move past it. So mainly what I want to talk about is situations that have come up with timing restrictions in your guys' games. And is there any way that we could possibly alleviate those in situations when you do get to non-chess clock games? So as an example, if you go to an event and chess clocks are optional and your opponent doesn't want to play on a chess clock, does anyone have a suggestion for maybe how to handle that?
I think you have to be clear about when your turn is done and then asking your opponent when their turn is done. I think that a lot of time is wasted, and I mean, by a lot of
There's
time,
that,
it's probably
grace
1
period when you're
or 2
like,
minutes of grace period. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Where you're both
where
kind of
you
staring.
stop talking, but it's kind of ambiguous as if they're done or not, because they might
Yeah.
so-and-so could spend power to place, and is he thinking about placing, or is he done?
Yeah, and it becomes awkward as well in between when you're doing something and you're waiting for them to do a reaction or a response. And you just have to be very back and forth and talking.
Yeah.
I think that's
you
very
need a
important.
much larger amount of communication between the two players. For example, one thing that I like about chess clocks is that at any point in time, I can change who the clock is on to communicate things to my opponent. So, for example, if they end a movement and I can reach over and hit the clock to me as I say, just a second, it's obvious to him that there is a game mechanic going on that I'm thinking about. And I don't have to say, hold on, I might want to play this tactics card or use this special ability or any of these other things. It's just very clear to my opponent. And then as soon as I'm done, I can just hit the clock back to them, and it's perfectly communicated. I am done thinking.
Yeah.
And so that's one thing I really like about chess clocks. Sometimes I'll play people, and we'll have a chess clock out that isn't even turned on just for that interaction.
And it feels appropriate to go ahead and click that to me. I like to do that when I'm because if I'm going to think about it, I don't want to take their time when I'm thinking about it, and I don't want them to go past that step. So a lot of times I will do that. Go ahead and click that to me. So what you're going to have to do is then go, if there's no chess clock, hold on a second, give me a second here. Oh no, never mind, I'm good. Communicate when you're done with that thought. What were you saying, Aaron?
I was going to say your first point about not sure if you're done with your turn is very, very easy because there's a check mark. If that check mark is on your model, that means you're done.
I don't know if you... I can tell you that I would say, 25% of people do check marks and marking their models and things differently than...
I think it's more than that.
It's annoys the shit out of me. And especially first turn. First turn...
Yeah. A lot of people don't do it at all first turn,
at all.
Which I get. There's the understanding is I understand which models haven't activated on your first turn, but understanding when you're done is not necessarily irrelevant information. But the thing that some people put it on their cards, some people just forget constantly to put the tokens down, and so they've just forgotten to check mark, and we sit here for 5 minutes, and he's like, "Are you going to do something?" I'm like, "It's your fucking turn, bro."
So I will say there were several aspects of the event pack for NashCon I did not like. However, props to this part of the packet that I liked a lot. It was very specific and said, I want to say without referencing it, that activation tokens and dazed markers were required to be on the board.
Nice.
Everything else could either be next to the character or on the character card. But it made the board state very clean in terms of who is activated and who is dazed. So it alleviates that. So I agree with you, Jeremy and Brandon. Not everyone plays a clean game, but I don't think that has anything to do with the rules. It just means people need to play cleaner.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
So for everyone listening, when you're done with your turn, put your check mark out next to your guy, and it's very obvious.
I think that's the best way to do it for those that are even newer at the game, kind of watching the assortment of ways of doing it. Number one, please, for the love of God, don't use dice. Okay? Don't use tiny dice. There's a few people out there. Maybe there's just one listening right now. Do not give that idea to anybody
I'm not getting involved
else.
in this.
Just don't.
So first we got Parker driving away new players. Now we got Jeremy driving away new players.
Just one. It's fine.
Just one.
It's fine. He'll be okay.
I am very much not a fan of dice in any shape or form for marking hit points and power. There are so many times I look up and I see like a number on a die and I go, okay, that character's got this much power. And I'll look back after an attack and the number is like dramatically different. I'm like, how the fuck did we get? Because if I look up and you've just picked up the die, I have no idea how much you had before. It's very annoying because I'm like, I basically have to sit here and watch you mark it to now know where it is. And it's just, I'm not actually worried about them getting bumped really at all. It's really just, it's hard to track what's going on. And sometimes like people will be sitting there spinning their dice for a while, trying to find the right symbols to put down. I'm just like, oh my God, like I just need to know how much power you have so I can make a decision.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I very much don't like the dice either. The people that have the dice holders so the dice don't get bumped is nice. But yeah, I very much prefer a physical token of some kind that is accounting.
I think the game designers had it right. I like the tokens, like the piles, whatever. At a glance, whether you have 3 damage or 4 or 5, like just at a glance, I can tell that there's some, right? Or none.
Right.
Like most of the time I'm looking for some or none. I'm like looking over there, and if you have some, do you have more than 2 or 3? Like, then I can kind of zoom in on what I need and then ask the right questions very quickly. When they're dice, no telling, man. There's just no telling. Or, just whatever.
And some of them are, not pointing anyone specific out, but sometimes the dice are harder to read.
They're just harder to read, yeah.
Like, I understand when you're looking directly down, it's easier, but I look up and I just see, like, dark dice with some, like, gray on them, and I'm like, I can't actually tell if that's, like, a 6 or a 9 from here, if you've got D10s, or, like, the 3s and the 5s look similar sometimes. Or, like, the dice are just, they're far away and they're small. Like, it's harder for me to tell. Like, everyone has a die on them. I can't look and go, oh, there's a big stack of power or damage right there.
Yeah.
It's like they all have the same amount of tokens on them.
I mean, there's a lot of things coming and going. Like, there's tons of shit moving around on the board. I get the clean environment that the dice creates. I do like that. Like, that's nice. It just does create a little bit of an obstacle. So, furthermore, keep the tokens on your guys. That's fine. Keep all your, power and damage on your guys. Great. But yes, only put your check marks and your daze tokens on the board. It's fine.
Actually covered in the rulebook that you're supposed to do that.
Like the rest of it can be on your card. Totally.
Yeah,
fine,
they
right?
actually they differentiate between types of tokens, and they say like power and damage needs to be on your character, and stuff like activated and daze token. Pretty much all stat effects are supposed to be on the table.
Yeah, that can get kind of crazy.
I do personally put stun and poison on my character cards. Everything else I put on the table, because when I'm going to mark power generation is when I'm going to forget that I'm stunned. And so if I put the stun on the card, I go to put the power down, I see the stun token, I go, oh, I only get 1. And so it corrects me from fucking up, as we're looking at the table and going, oh, that character was stunned the whole last round and I forgot. Because, like, when I look at my model and you point out that you're attacking them, I see the incinerate token.
Mm-hmm.
So I roll less. Yeah.
I have a totally different tip.
I don't know how we got on this topic. Go ahead.
Oh,
I was going to say, your original question was how can you prepare if you think if the event is going to have timers and not chess clocks, or optional chess clocks and you're nervous about it, or you just want to make sure you get to play your whole game. This is something that I would do absolutely, which is plan to play 3 models. Just bring lists of your guys' super tall list that you love so much. I would just play that. As much as I don't enjoy that, the fact that I could make sure my turn only lasted 2 minutes, and I just picked up things and I moved them, and I could keep my game under half an hour, would be a huge bonus for me, because then I would know at least the game ended. I think playing a really small model count, in my opinion, would help me a lot, just because, avoiding models that have things like rapid fire, because you're tempted to roll all the rapid fires. I know I am. Models that don't have range.
To.
Right. Like, well, see, you could
You
move.
cannot elect to not make attacks that are required.
But you could shake, right? Or you could move.
You could not make attacks,
right,
but you cannot choose to not make rapid fire attacks.
Yes, but the point is, like, we've talked about this before. Like, sometimes towards the end of the game, I'm winning. Why am I still rapid firing? Because I'm burning my clock.
Yeah, no, I know we've talked about this.
Yeah.
I'm just pointing out, like, some triggers are not maze.
Right. Rapid fire is May.
Is it a May? Okay.
Yeah.
So the point is that
no, specifically the situation we are talking about is Parker had 33 seconds on his clock and chose to use "I've got your back."
Right.
And triggered rapid fire and fully resolved both of those attacks on his 33-second clock, who still had 2 activations left to do. And then he looks at the table and goes, I only have 3 seconds left. I was like, yeah, why the fuck did you? I've got your back.
Right. So the point is, like, just I would, as a player, because I know who I am, I guess, and that's what my advice is, know who you are as a player. If you know that you can't play a game with 5 models with reactionary effects, like, a Sam Avengers, and you're like, yeah, if I am going to slow the game down to a crawl with all of my bullshit, like,
I think
like,
we
what
get
is
where you're going, Parker.
Crimson Dynamo, like, all these models that are going to slow the game by interrupting and reacting, and even as much as you might enjoy playing that style, you won't be able to enjoy when your game ends after round 2.
I think what you're saying is a good point. I look at this from obviously a different perspective of you, because I think it's fair to say in a lot of your games that go to time, you probably use the majority of the time. In a lot of the games that I have that go to time, I feel I use less than half of the time. And that's usually when I get frustrated, is when I know my opponent has taken 2 or 3 or 4 times as long as I have to play the game, and we're still going to time, because there's no ability for me to control that.
To be fair, I have not yet played an MCP event that does not have chess clocks. So
you're welcome.
I do not. Yes, I blame everybody who loves this game and uses chess clocks, because that's the right way to do it. But it is true that if I ever got to play one that didn't, I would have to. I would feel bad playing my usual list of tons of reactionary models and 5.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. I think that's a really good piece of advice to players that are less experienced on time or less comfortable on time. Yeah. Intentionally playing models that are fast activations, that don't have weird, long, convoluted abilities, would be really good. Like you said, perfect example, Crimson Dynamo will extend the length of your games by a noticeable margin, because it's going to increase the dice mod step, which takes a lot of an activation. You're also going to make more attacks. You're going to create more attacks, because it's going to take more of their attacks to daze your models.
Yep.
So I think that's a good observation, is knowing what will make your game go slower and what will make your game go faster. My biggest concern, like I said, is when I play against somebody and it's almost like their intent is to slow the game down and take advantage of the fact that timing isn't fair. And I've only played one game against somebody that I know for a fact was doing it on purpose, and it completely ruined my entire convention. And I absolutely was upset that I went. And I know that person, I'll just refuse to ever play them again. But like, unless the event we end up playing at is using chess timers, I'm just not going to play them, which is just not a good way to go about it. I don't want to have situations where I just have confrontational opponents that I have to avoid. So in a situation, like, I know the obvious thing is people say call a judge, right? If you think your opponent is slow playing. That's like a confrontational thing, and for a lot of people, they just won't, and they'll just accept the fact that they're going to get taken advantage of in this situation. But even if you do call the judge and the judge comes over, like, maybe they can force them to play faster in that brief period, but as soon as they walk away from the table, it's just back and forth, I said, he said situation. And that's the main reason I don't like round timers.
So I have had, I think in my MCP career so far, going on 2 years, 2 really feels bad times, and they were both related to chess clocks. For everything you're talking about, right? Like the game just
chess
decided.
clocks?
Yeah, sorry, round timers.
Round timers. I was like, okay, that's
lack
this is
of
gonna be interesting.
lack of chess clocks. Sorry. Yeah, when circumstances outside your control dictate a game result. And I want to say in none of the 3 games was I using more time than my opponent. That's a very subjective statement, but I will nonetheless say it. So yeah, I don't know what else to say. It is the worst feeling I've ever had in Marvel, other than just more so than getting beat and tabled, and having my ass handed to me.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Like I can take that, fine, whatever. Yeah, got my ass kicked, whatever. It was fun to see some models like do some cool things on the table, even if they weren't mine. But after committing, money, time, energy to an event, to have it, end, I won't say prematurely, but in a way that was not influenced by your analysis and the luck of the dice is horrible. I don't know how to get over it.
The game that I was talking about earlier, we had a collective 7 models. We played a 2-hour round timer, and we didn't end turn 2. And I took less than 10 minutes of that 2 hours.
Yeah, my experience wasn't that bad. But
yeah, I called a judge, and the judge just kind of came over and threw up his hands. It's like, he's got to have time to think about his decisions. I was like, okay. Yeah, I don't know what you're supposed to do about that. I guess I'm just saying, as someone who's been a TO for a long time and somebody who plays in a lot of events, I would never want to be in that situation where I have to tell somebody, like, do I give you a game loss because you can't speed up? Like, it's just a shitty situation because so often the time you're brought to the table and you get to observe the table for less than a minute and you have to make a, event impacting call in that kind of situation. It's like, all right, well, what? I give you 10 seconds to make this decision, and then at the end of that, I make it for you, or what? You lose the game. Like, it's just a weird spot, and it's not fair to some people playing specific models because, like, a perfect example is like the Adepticon team tournament from 2 years ago. I played with a random pickup guy that I met there, and it was a team up event, so it's 2v2 plus 4 points, and our first round got called in the middle of round 2, and I think of all of our games, we only got to round 4 in one of them, and it was just ridiculous. Like, there were so many games where it's like, we've been playing fast, and it's just like we don't even get to play the entire game. One round that was specifically bad was against Thanos Avengers players, and so we're playing 24 points Thanos Avengers versus Web Warriors with Brotherhood. And we set up and we played what felt like an hour and a half round 1. All I know is we didn't score round 2. And so we won 5-4 because round 1 was 5-4. And it was just like the weirdest. And I was just sitting there watching the clock run. I'm like, okay, I understand that Thanos with Steve's leadership could do almost anything, right? I understand that. But you need to pick one of those things because eventually they're going to close the arena and we have to leave. Like, we can't just sit here forever. But it's also not fair to say it's like you get 10 seconds to make this choice.
And see, to me, as a controllable player, I would feel, knowing, coming from somebody who takes long to play, I think I know enough about the game to know that if I'm taking Thanos with Steve to an event without a chess clock, I'm going to give somebody a terrible day. There's no other way about it. Like, it doesn't matter how good I am at the list. I'm going to ruin somebody's play experience. It would be like me planning on going in there with a bat and hitting somebody in the back of the legs after round 2 to make sure I get a good experience. I get an advantage. It's just it feels like a cheat, but it's not cheating. I think if you do that, you're playing this format incorrectly. I think you've got to know.
So I guess my question in this example is, what do I do when that is like? I understand, like, Parker, you have strong morality and you don't want to punish possible opponents with that situation,
right?
But like, as looking at it, like, if you guys were the judge of an event and I call you over, like, the second Thanos activates. He goes, all right, I'm going to activate Thanos. I just raise my hand, yell, judge, and you're 3 feet away. You walk over. I go, we've already wasted an hour and a half in the first round. I need Thanos to activate in a reasonable manner. How long do you give that person to resolve Thanos' activation? Like, it's not fair to the TO, even, in my opinion.
Right.
Like, what is he supposed to do? It's like, all right, you've got 10 seconds. All right, you've got 2 minutes. You've got 10 minutes. Like, where's the line? And he's like, look at all this stuff I have to think about. And he can explain all the situations. Like, look at all the things I have to think about. It's like, yeah, but you got to make a decision. And so it's like, that's just the kind of stuff. It's like, there is no fair line, right? It's completely subjective. Everyone's going to have a different opinion. And it's just one. And even in the situation, like, we used a fraction of the time again, like less than a quarter of the time. And we won the game because our opponents were indecisive. So it's not even about people specifically trying to abuse it. It's just like, if you don't have a visual representation of how much of the time you've used, you not only are less encouraged to play faster, but you are potentially hurting yourself, and you just don't realize it in the moment.
Right.
And so that's why I really think that even if you're not using chess clocks, I think some representation of the amount of time each player has used, I think, is fine. I think, like, you need something. Like, what if we sat down and I got out a chess clock on my phone and we started a 2-hour chess clock? Each player gets like an hour and a half, we'll say, just a random number, or a counting up chess clock. And we get to the end of the round, and I call the judge, like, hey, we timed out in round 3, and he used, 83 of the 90 minutes. Like, what's up? Like, he's like, can I get like a judge calling on this?
And that's actually one of the things I think that. So one way to look at it is the way I've kind of proposed so far, which is it's on the player to make sure that the game experience they're having is not an NPE for your opponent, which I think we'd all agree, a good sportsman would make that, choice. However, if you're a TO and you're sure you're against chess clocks, or you don't have the resources for a chess clock, or whatever reason you're sure chess clocks aren't happening at your event, I think you've got to probably, in a document, like you're talking about, like the tournament document beforehand, you've got to make it really clear what's going to happen. I don't know if you do like a red card kind of thing, where if a player wants to play it, then you've got the TO is going to come over and going to watch a turn, and you need take 5 minutes for a turn for a certain model, or whatever it is, like whatever as a TO you come up with as a solution to this. But I think you have to have it beforehand, because of exactly the situation you just said. I think no person is going to walk up to the table and immediately be able to resolve that conflict unless they already have a precedent, a procedure for what they're going to do. And I'm sure there's people smarter than me that can come up with it that in a fair way, or even if it's an unfair way, and you want to say, you know what, if you are accused of this is what happens, period, full stop. And I think if you don't do that as a TO, you should expect people to not enjoy your event and not want to come to subsequent ones. You should expect that. And if you're not expecting that, you're wrong. You're wrong. And that's what
Parker's just calling people out.
I think that's true. I think you should, and the idea is about sportsmanship, right? You set up a situation where you're setting up a situation where you can legally cheat, right? Mm-hmm. And so,
well, it's not cheating, right?
It's cheating. Not. I think it's a form of cheating. If you're
cheating by omission.
You're cheating by omission, perhaps, is a way to put it.
It's like, well, they didn't make a rule that I couldn't do this bullshit crap, but
right. Yeah. It doesn't say anywhere that dogs can't play basketball. Like, that's the thing, right?
It doesn't say a dog can't play basketball.
Right. It's that same kind of terrible logic that gets dogs playing basketball is also good.
That's terrible logic. Yeah. Don't say angels can't play baseball.
Right. As soon as you open that door.
What I did, because at the event I've had the largest amount of problems with time, was the Adepticon tournament, and they've done things since then, and it's been much less of a problem. So I'm not complaining about Adepticon. It was just specifically the team event that year. They didn't really know how the timers were going to go, and it did not go well. But they've made adjustments, so they're doing good now. I immediately asked everyone the following day, because I was just kind of hanging out filming games. I was like, "Hey guys, what do you guys do in these situations?" I asked Gil from the WTC, I asked Omnis, I asked Mike from Danger Room. I asked everybody, because we were all just sitting there in between rounds. And every one of them just said, like, straight face, well, you just gotta tell your opponent they gotta play faster. I'm like, yeah, but they're, like, doing it on purpose, though, is the concept. He's like, oh, well, then you call the judge. He's like, but then the judge isn't gonna do anything. And he's like, oh, well, you just tell your opponent they gotta play faster. We just did this in a circle. I'm like, nothing ever gets done and you get screwed as the end result.
Right.
And he's like, oh, yeah, well, then you just never go back. And I'm like, oh,
There-
okay. So there is no known answer,
Mhm.
but it's just a feels bad. I think for most people involved. So I think the vast majority of slow playing is not intentional.
No.
They're like, there's a lot of stuff to think about.
So the extreme versions tend to happen. So there's a couple versions, right? So there's the extreme version with 2 people playing. It's the end of the round, and you look over and you look at the scores, and they're on turn 2.
Yeah.
And, it's 7-8. And they had the best time ever. They had no
Yeah.
idea. They had the best time ever. They look over like, oh shit, dude, you won. Oh, we only made it to turn 2. Ha!
I thought you were talking about Kenny's games.
What? But you know what I mean? They had no idea. So
Mhm.
then you have the other version, which is the guy he showed up to win the tournament. He's playing against one of those people,
Yeah.
and he will bully his way through that game.
Yes.
Usually. Let's go, man. Come on. Make a choice. Let's go.
Yeah.
So then the player will get pushed through their game, probably get rolled, and move through it. Or you'll have the other version, which is the one in the middle, which is the kinda, sorta, kinda, and that's the feels bad one, where they're not really paying attention. It's, turn 5, things are getting tight, plans are unrolling, and then suddenly it's the end of the round, and things didn't go to fruition. And that's the one that really hurts and really sucks.
Yeah, I think that's a good analysis. I think all 3 of those games definitely happen at a lot of events that are not on chess blocks. Many of the people I talked to at Adepticon basically said, it's like, no, you just have to browbeat your opponent into playing faster. If they're not, unless it's obvious they're doing it intentionally, then you just call the judge and beg them to watch the rest of your game. And if they hope to God they have time, basically, to do it. So yeah, that's definitely something.
So I think most of quote unquote slow play is not egregious. Like, for instance, 3 of my games at NashCon, none of them were people intentionally slow playing. It was me putting them in a hole. 3 of the 4 Top Cuts games went to time. It's because when you start talking about, like, I'll call it high level MCP, but good players against good players, like you're piecing together, 3 or 4 activations down the road or a turn down the road, right? And it takes some time to think about the repercussions of the actions you're just about to take. And so it's not like I just took a 20-minute turn. It's, instead of this activation taking, 25 seconds, it takes 45.
Yeah.
Right? That's the time that adds up. So it's not someone staring at the board for 5 minutes. It's just every activation taking an extra 20 seconds longer than it should. I really think that's the key when you start talking about, again, really good high quality level MCP is that those players are thinking 2 turns or activations down the road, and it just takes longer. And the only way to force them to go faster is to put them on a clock, because it's not noticeable, it's not egregious, it's just something that insidiously happens throughout the course of the game.
So moving into the assuming you're playing on time turns aspect of this, I had never heard of before your stories of NashCon people scoring a round in which time was called. And so if you are not allowed to finish a round, so you have activations remaining that you are not allowed to take, how can you justify scoring the current board state?
I don't want to talk about this.
Okay. All right.
You guys can. I fucking abstain.
So Aaron abstains. So I didn't even know that was an option on the table. I had assumed you would just go with the previous round's total score. Or they would give you some kind of small time extension to try and finish the round. I can tell you in Magic the Gathering, they don't even let you do that.
Yeah, that's really strange.
This was the timing that was used at NashCon, and is, I think, still currently used by the meta in Omaha.
Okay.
The only difference in NashCon, it was fucking dice down, like, you're done.
Yeah.
Like, if you're in the middle of a dice roll, you can finish it. But it was not finish your activation, it was just done. Whereas
So if you had already declared an attack, did you get to continue?
I think only if you had started the roll for the attack.
Oh, but if you spent 2 power and you're like, I'm going to Steel Rush, and they yell dice down, and you can't then let go of the dice.
I think so.
Do you resolve effects of the attack? Like, what if you trigger Rapid Fire or Steel Rush's Advance?
I don't believe so. It was pretty much dice down.
Wow.
I had to get some clarification. I wasn't really paying attention that quickly, nor that I think.
I mean, at that point, you're cutting hairs anyway. So
right, but then Omaha is finish your entire activation. They call last activation, so you can do whatever you want on that activation. The thing that upset me a lot in that particular time was my opponent then got to play out of activation displacement cards.
I play Avengers Assembled during this activation.
Do you know who I am? While time is officially expired, I'm just going to take all of these board-altering states and then be done. I ended up winning that game by 1, I think, but it shouldn't have been nearly that close. It was just, he had 15 minutes to think about what he could do with his activation that he still was on, and all of the out-of-activation stuff that he could do, if that makes sense. It's I know you can't counter this at all, so what if I move over here and attack him and then throw him, whereas my guys still have activations left, I just can't activate them because the round's miraculously fucking over.
In the middle of their turn.
Yes. So, those are the 2 ways I have seen. Well, actually, I guess Adepticon was you finish your round, right?
It was, yeah.
So the 3 ways I've seen round timers implemented. Finish your activation, finish nothing, and finish your round.
Yeah, I guess it depends, because the team tournament, we got multiple different judge rulings, but because the repeated judge ruling we kept hearing was finish the round, we would keep playing even if they told us dice down.
Sure, but for the actual Contest of Champions last year, I think it was finish round.
Yeah, which makes sense. I never even realized, other than that one tournament we went to Omaha and they did it, but none of my games went to time, so it didn't matter. But I've never even heard of people going finish the activation and score. Like I thought it was, just stop because this round isn't going to count.
Nope.
Well,
dice down, score, kingpin. How many do you have?
Yeah, exactly. Or pay to flips. Technically.
Sword base, how many you got? Yikes.
Yeah, that's absolutely brutal. So I think everyone in the world would agree that's not the right way to do that.
I don't think that statement's true.
I don't think that's true at all.
I will debate anyone on this topic.
Oh, no.
You should.
All of them.
All
of them.
I don't think... I think people think that's okay.
I think I wouldn't call those people. And I don't even feel bad about that. Sometimes I feel bad about why I'm overly brazen. And
I think that goes back to my earlier point, is if you're willing to do these kind of things, you're also willing to just have smaller events. Because
NashCon's no small event, but yeah, I see what you're saying.
Yeah, you have to be okay with people going, I'm not going to set myself up for a situation where, in Aaron's words, Aaron's, a humble player who loves going and having competitive time. He loves spreading.
He dropped several F-bombs.
He loves
the guy a pussy.
He loves.
All 3 of us are just what the fuck is he talking about?
He spreads his seed of generosity like buckshot across the Midwest, just everywhere he goes.
Okay, Parker,
Brett killed a guy.
We already talked about what our rating went to. I don't even want to talk about what our rating's going to after that statement.
All I can say is, and yet even then, Aaron is
show his royal loins.
Yeah. And yet, even then, Aaron says things like, it ruined my experience. It ruined the tournament. I had a hard time enjoying the whole thing because of this one negative play experience. And as a TO, you have to be like, okay, well, I'm going to take someone who wants to travel and it's going to make my tournament a stronger tournament and a positive experience for others, and I'm going to alienate them because I'm not going to have a decision I can make whenever somebody is stalling, or purpose or on accident.
Yeah, I think we've talked about that part enough. I will tell you, in the line that you were speaking, I've never been to NashCon. I have been to Nashville. I don't dislike Nashville at all. I think going to Nashville would be cool. If they are doing this same timing structure next year, I am very unlikely to go. If they are not, if they're doing basically anything else, I would definitely consider it. But, and that's not a shot at NashCon. I think NashCon is a generally well-run event. I'm just saying, I personally have an absolute hatred for non-individual timers. And like in War Machine, the way we got around this for a long time was we use those turn timers where it's like, okay, your turns can't be longer than like 3 or 5 minutes. Mm-hmm. And maybe something like that could be better, or definitely not scoring mid-round. That doesn't even make sense. I don't know.
I think
like 5 minutes per dude. Like, that's fine. Why not?
What'd you say?
5 minutes per dude. You get 5 minutes.
Yeah, 5 minutes per turn. I think 3 minutes per turn would honestly be fine.
Whatever. Like 5 times, 6, whatever. Like, give it a number, call it that, and put your shit down. Like, move forward. Yeah.
Even if you bring 5 models, that's 15 minutes a turn. That's 30 minutes a round. So you can get to potentially end of round 4 with, like, if every activation goes to 3 minutes, that should be fine.
I will say this, though, as much as, us as a podcast, I think we're all pretty much in, near agreement on this. Jeremy, I did like your point that there are some people that, just hear the word event and they go, I don't care what the clock is. Like, I don't care if I lose by 2 minutes or 16 points. Like, I'm just going to go play some games, have fun, meet people, and that's all they're going to do. And I think if you know yourself and you're that player who can walk away from that bad game, that bad one, and not even notice, then this advice really isn't for you. But
hi, Jason Wilburn.
Right.
That dude loves gaming.
Yeah.
He's the sweetest dude ever.
Yeah.
He is a sweet dude.
And has no idea.
He also loves chess clocks.
Yeah.
Does he?
Yeah.
Yes, because he's a smart human being.
Yeah.
That's true.
But it is true that there are some people that are immune to that kind of ego death, right? They're totally immune to it.
Yeah.
And
he will take any model and attack you and kill you with anything on any day. Doesn't matter.
I think what was I going with this?
I think if you know yourself, you'll know what kind of not only what kind of list you want to bring for the certain kind of event, if you want to get that complicated and technical, but you can also know, just like, I'm going to be able to deal with this, or I'm not.
I remember what I was going to say. Chess clocks specifically get a bad rap for some reason, and I don't get it. Because all it does is guarantee each player gets a fair amount of the time. That's literally all a chess clock does. I don't know why some people think chess clocks, like, go out and murder people in the middle of the night. I don't get it.
I think
they seem to think that.
Isn't it weird because they add in... So the biggest complaint is, right, like, oh, I don't want to add in this anxiety of worrying about the clock.
What anxiety?
Actually, so the biggest anxiety is meeting someone new, right? Like standing in front of someone new and saying, hey, we're going to compete. I don't know you. And then, at some point, some people are measuring egos. And that is anxiety inducing. What part of the clock has it, like, that's not even close.
Yeah, I try and sell it to people as, this is your guarantee. I won't take an unfair amount of the time. Think of it like that. Because if your time runs out and you lose the game, is that the end of the fucking world? It's not for me. Like, if I run out of time and lose the game, it's not the end of the world. All the clock matters is to make sure that you're not unfair to your opponent. That's what it does. It doesn't rob you of anything. It doesn't take anything away. If seeing numbers change on a digital clock face is a problem for you, spoiler alert, you're going to have a bad time in general.
I don't want to say that people who get anxiety with time are wrong. Just talking from somebody who's clocked themselves in events.
All the time.
All the time.
You.
I will say that I think the thing that really gets people, in my personal opinion, is that it adds not a victory condition, but a loss condition to the game. And I think as soon as you add one to the game, people just immediately get averse to that. It's just an aversion response, and I don't think it's real. I think it's like a spider crawling on your skin. I mean, it's not going to kill you, but you don't have to freak out. You should, think calmly and overcome that lizard brain response you have first. And I think anyone who ever has sat down with one and goes, I'm just going to relax, I'm going to try to see how this goes, and the game ends with their 20 minutes on their clock, I think, oh, that wasn't so bad. Like, okay, so I was playing this way anyway. I just didn't realize that this fear was unfounded.
But almost every time I've exposed somebody to chess clocks for the first time, they play their first game on chess clock and they go, oh, I was really paranoid about it, or I was stressed about it. Then they play their second game on the clock and they go, I can't believe I wasn't doing this before. Like, they immediately go, this is better, because it's a better experience.
And honestly, I think that it's a litmus test if you're ready to play in a tournament, honestly. If you can't play your list on a back and forth clock and you're hitting the time, you probably need to practice your list more and memorize your cards better. Maybe not every word for word, but if you're having to look at your cards too much and having to like understand what you should be doing so much that you're wasting all your time, then you need to practice your list more before bringing it to a tournament. Honestly, you're just wasting too much time. Like that's on you. That's not the clock's fault.
The thing that upsets me is, like, I get, like Parker said, that the anxiety of playing on the clock for like the first time is a real thing. Like, I can respect that. Like, people feeling rushed is something that really exists. And like you were saying, if you're taking noticeably longer than the time allotment you have, that's probably a sign that you're not familiar enough with either the game or the models you're playing to play in an event. So what the problem I see and what really gets me upset is because the way I look at it, which might not be fair, is that person, that person, which is usually the same guy, is totally okay using an unfair amount of the time to make all that stuff happen, but not okay by feeling rushed by playing on a clock. And so what you're doing is inversely affecting your opponent, because now they have a dramatically shorter amount of time to play the game in, because you're taking an unfair amount of it. And so that's the part that upsets me. And that's what gets me really angry about the no clock situation. I actually have very rarely had a game, even off a clock, where I had a problem with the way my opponent was playing as far as time goes. It's exceedingly rare. In the thousands of games of MCP I've played, it's probably less than a dozen. Like, it's not an issue generally. The only time it's an issue is when I'm penalized for it. Like, I don't mind taking the extra time, or even losing a game that doesn't count. But like, if I travel to a big event, I spent hundreds of dollars to play in this event, and then my first round, I get paired against somebody who's basically being extremely rude, despite they probably don't realize it at the time, by putting me in this situation, and just to like ruin the whole event I traveled for. Like, that's what upsets me.
I'm trying to think, because Adepticon did not have clocks. I don't believe.
I thought there was clocks. Was there really no clocks?
Nope. It was a round timer.
And
they gave a pretty generous amount of time, if I recall.
Team tournaments. I remember team tournament, we had one of our games go to time. At least
team tournaments definitely take longer. Like, especially the team up, because you're communicating with your partner. It takes way longer.
And then most of my games were fine because I was running Malekith at the time, and it just rolled people. So.
I actually don't recall that many people that went to time. I think they gave a more generous amount of time. And the game had been out longer, so people were more familiar with the game system.
And that's actually a perfectly reasonable thing for TO to decide. Is just to go, you know what? We're not doing chess clocks, so let's go ahead and do, a much longer round timer. I think that's perfectly fine to try.
Yeah, because I think they only did, 5 rounds the first day?
Well, it was like 2 hours and then an hour break, right? Like, it was something like
that's
that.
That's LVO.
Oh, yeah.
That was LVO. Adepticon was definitely tighter than that, but I think they were doing like 2 15-round timers.
I don't know.
But that's like time to get to the table and meet your opponent and everything too. People were definitely playing quick, but I think there was only like a handful of games that went to time every round. And even then, they let you finish the round, which probably added like an extra 10 minutes to each round. But that meant that the games got actually concluded, because very seldom would they call time and the game wasn't basically already decided.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there you go. There's a better way to do it. There's definitely a continuum of positive play experiences you can get without a chess clock.
4-hour games.
4-hour rounds.
Yeah, that's called the Parker method.
Yeah.
Or rather,
Jesus
that's the
Christ.
Parker and Tyler method is what that's called.
Yeah.
Shout out to Tyler.
Pass.
God, you and Tyler played like a 6-hour game one
Yeah,
day.
Tyler and I only play epic games with 4 models between the two of
I
us.
haven't seen Tyler in a while. He needs to get his ass back up to the store.
Yeah, he does. Shout out to Tyler if you're listening. Get back to the store. We want you to come and
we're hoping that you're looking up at the same moon.
Yeah, we desire it.
Anyway, I feel compelled to say once more, we're not trying to harp on any particular event. We're just talking about situations that different timing implements can cause.
I also think one of the things you can take for that exact comment too is a lot of the stories we've been talking about, these cautionary tale kind of things, mentioning specific cons, a lot of those people tried something and they went back to the drawing board the next time. Like, I don't know if you're paying attention to a lot of these stories. A lot of them are, but now it is X. And I think a lot of TOs don't want people to walk away with that negative playing experience, or they're not content with, the way it worked out the first time. And so a lot of them are interested in trying something different so that they can make sure it's not the same way.
Every time I've gone to one of these events and we've had issues, it's gotten better the next year. Like they've made noticeable improvements. So it's not like people aren't trying. We're just saying this in general in case other people are looking at starting an event or wondering why we complain about certain things sometimes, just getting our point of view.
Yeah.
Because I know we talk about timers all the time. Jeremy, I do have a piece of advice for you. Don't ever start a pillow fight with death. You can't handle the repercussions.
Jeremy, do you want to tell him or should I?
I'm not listening.
That was my joke I gave him.
That was the one you sent.
That was the one I sent that week.
I'm sure he's already blocked it out. Don't even worry.
So
I was very pleased with that one. So I want you to know I truly approve, obviously, because I read I think no less than 300 dad jokes searching for the one I was going to send him for that week. That was a great challenge. I really enjoyed that.
That's been the biggest hurdle, is that so many of the good ones are already used.
Yeah, you have to. That's what it was. I was trying to go. I couldn't do the top 80 of every list, right? Yeah. I had to keep reading, and I really
my girlfriend, before she was before she went to bed, she sent me a little. It says, "I was going to cook alligator for dinner, but I realized I only had a crock pot." I swear to God.
That's topical because I actually have some alligator right here. If you need some alligator. Oh, hold on, wait.
It's hard to see things because of your shitty background.
I know. Here, I'm turning it off. Hold on, I'm turning off my background. You can see my beautiful unobstructed face briefly. All right, you ready? Boom. I got spiced alligator jerky.
Yeah, there you go. Where'd you get that?
Alex gave it to me. He was in Louisiana for some business vacation.
I was going to say, that is where you can get it. I have had it. It tastes good.
Does it? I haven't had it.
I've had gator cooked many different ways, including dehydrated and jerked. It tastes good.
I'm a big fan of jerking the gators.
Yep. The season down there, I have a lot of uncles that will hunt them. And by hunt them, I mean they walk into their backyard during the season with a tag and shoot them in the back of the head because they're just laying there. Shoot them, Jacob. Shoot them! It is actually, I have one of their heads in my classroom that he chopped off the head. No taxidermy or anything because he's just, some Cajun coon ass. So he just chops off the head and put it on a fire ant hill. And the fire ants are voracious. They're super aggressive. And so they just crawled all over, ate every bit of meat out, basically left the skin and bones. And then he took that blow-in insulation, that like puffy insulation, shot it into the skull, spray painted that black so you couldn't see like the skull cavity, and gave it to me. Super cool. And so that's in my classroom forever now as my coon-ass taxidermy.
Coon-ass taxidermy. Oh boy!
But yeah, he ate the rest of it. And that is.
I bet he did. You know what? I bet he fucking did.
You know why he did it? Actually,
I bet he jerked it a few times too.
Yeah, he did. He didn't actually. Wasn't planning on it. He actually liked the gator. It was in his backyard. Well, and
it was his pet gator. That's Randy, my gator.
Yeah, he really was he was kind of like the pet. He kind of liked that he was around. Just kind of a cool like Cajun thing to have.
Yeah, keeping the rabbits away.
1 year, it got really, really dry. And the pool that he lived in the back started to dry up, and so he started to eat my uncle's dogs. his dogs to go back there to drink water sometimes because it's so hot and dry.
Hold on,
And
wait. Hold on, I gotta stop
the
this.
gator ate his dogs.
You're telling me the whole fucking time he had multiple dogs and it just left the dogs alone?
Yeah, left the dogs alone all the time.
Holy fuck.
For years.
Whose fault was this, really?
Well, he was a hunting dog raiser. He raised like beagles and hunting dogs, and so he had a ton of them. And some of the the older dogs he would have around for training purposes and for siring and breeding. One year he lost like 3 of them to this gator, and he was like, "Well, that's for the gator," and he bought a
Sorry,
tag.
Randy.
Yep.
Okay, I don't know where we're just gonna end it there.
So timers, huh?
Yeah, unfortunately, we've run out of time on this segment. We're going to move on. Thanks, everybody, for listening. Hopefully you had a good time. This has been Brandon.
And Parker.
And COVID.
And Aaron.
Bye, COVID. I'm Dad. And this has been The Gang Runs Out of Time.
So what are we going to call this thing?
I got it. Okay. Incredible, new, fantastic, astonishing, mighty, original, uncanny, sensational podcast.
I'm just going to put down infamous.
And he's off.
Go.
We'll never see him again. Oh, boy. Anyway.
I'm excited about these. By the way, I wanted to clarify with this category, if you guys are trying to look at for
Oh, God.
right
No.
now. There's only one clarity. I just
There's-
wanted to be sure.
Why do we need a clarification? It's a straightforward topic.
Okay, good. Then I'm going to leave it at that, and I will veto things if I think they don't count. Go ahead.
Okay, yeah, that's gonna happen. We're gonna veto things now.
Yeah, we'll start.
Not after all the shit that's happened.
Yeah, this will be the first time we start doing it.
Yeah.
I'm curious to see if you guys. I'm curious. I'm just going to leave it right there. See how this goes.
So Jeremy,
Yep.
welcome back. I'm sorry you got COVID.
Thanks.
Yeah,
You're
man.
welcome.
How is it holding up?
It's identical to last time. I think I could make a million jokes about stuff, but honestly, I believe that this is the new world we live in. I think that every summer or whatever, it'll be seasonal.
Yeah,
And
it's just
it's going to
the
go
new
around.
flu.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's the new
just
flu, except it's way more contagious. Like, this shit is just like, boom, everybody has it, and then you've got 10 days, and you're over it. It's just what it is. I've been way sicker for way longer. Like, let me put it that way.
I had the H1N1 when it went around, and that put me on my ass. That was the most sick I think I've ever been, but it only lasted like 18 hours, and then I was like, before and after, it was like very mild at all, and then just for like 18 hours, I literally couldn't stand up.
Ugh.
Like I felt so terrible.
Yeah.
But on a positive note, you went to Florida for vacation. Did you enjoy your vacation?
Oh, holy shit. It was awesome. Yeah.
Great. Did you do some fishing while you're down there? I know you used to go shark fishing.
Still do. Yep.
Still shark fish?
We caught, I think we caught over 20. We caught over 20 sharks this time.
I would ask you what you listen to while you're fishing, but I would imagine it's just something catchy.
Mm.
That was great.
Long setup. I knew it was happening. I couldn't tell.
He's like, I'm not liking that you're steering this conversation.
Oh man, I really like that.
Once I felt tugged, I was like, it was over. I'm out.
I like that so much. I actually felt like you did a pretty good job, like pulling that in. You like reeled it in quick.
I didn't want to spoon feed it. Like I was going with a different step. I was like, fuck it, we're going in now.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I could tell he was starting to get the wiser, and I was like, we got to pull it now.
Yeah. I think that's perfect.
One thing about COVID, so I was in bed for 3 days, and it allows you to, and people might not believe this, but it's true, it allows you to watch the entirety of Better Call Saul
Yeah.
in a row.
Except for the last season. You don't watch that.
Actually, that's not true. So the last season, stop before the last 4 episodes.
Yeah, like the actual conclusion.
Yep.
You just skip that.
Yep. The last 4 episodes, just throw that in the
Yeah,
trash.
I think that's fair.
Because actually,
I
the
was
last
really not
season's
happy with where
good.
it ended.
It's just the last 4 episodes when it goes black and white, the whole like, ooh, what happens after Breaking Bad? Actually, make it up in your head.
No, I liked El Camino. That was good.
El Camino's good. Use that. That's how it ended.
But it was like, the whole concept was like, we just wanted closure on the stuff. We didn't need, like, the, like, emotional and, like morality endings. We just wanted to know what happened. And so you could have made it up and made it even more interesting, right? Like, you leave us asking more questions. Instead, it was just like, nope, the character has a complete 180 in moral compass in, like, a 4-day period. You're like, okay.
One thing that was really interesting about it this time, because I've watched it probably 3 or 4 times, like all in a row before, but not in a setting like this. And now, I knew where Kim was coming from, and watching her character go from where she came from to now, or where she ended off. Because knowing that when she was a kid, she was kind of a bad kid, and watching her just kind of like be kind of bad, you're like, why is she acting like this? Why is, oh no, she's not great. Like, watching her do her things makes so much more sense. It's such a good show.
Yeah, like why she was sucked into it as much as she was.
No, she was just as much an influence as Saul was, or Jimmy. Such a good show. Man, it was such a good watch. But yeah, that's my last few days. Oh,
welcome back, Aaron.
Thanks.
The one thing that I lorded over most people, and I was very excited and happy about it for most of the time I've lived in this apartment, is my ability to have an ice maker in my freezer that worked amazingly. My freezer and fridge broke the other day. They replaced it with the shittiest freezer/refrigerator they could have found at Lowe's. Yeah. It does not have an ice maker in it. Those sons of bitches.
I've lived for a long time without an ice maker. It's actually really annoying. You don't think it's that annoying initially, and then over time, like there's just so many instances where you're like, man, I wish I had fucking ice. And like it's just such a hassle to like do the trays that, and like anytime you do, you forget about them, and then they're like freezer burnt after a long time.
Well, I know, like it's been forever since I've had it. Like I say, I'm the guy who had the ice maker. Like, and it fucking worked amazing.
Yeah, my nobody in my family now like uses ice, and so whenever we go to a cabin or something, they don't always have an ice maker, and I don't mind it so much. But when I was a kid, everybody in my family needed just mountains of ice, and we never had enough ice ever. It was always empty.
Mountains of ice.
If you didn't get there like right at 4:00, like before everybody got off work and everybody got off school, you didn't get any ice because it was gone before dinner.
I've my last job was selling ice makers, basically. Like I did HVAC and ice machines. And so we had a floor model that was like we used at the facility. So I had access to like 100 pounds of ice whenever I wanted it. And it was just like free. And then like going from that to just not having an ice maker at all was like kind of a culture shock for like going to Chiefs games and stuff. It's like, oh yeah, we'll just, oh no, I can't just bring 100 pounds of ice. I have to buy 100 pounds of ice. You're like, well, this sucks. Like I don't want to do that. By the way, Parker, did you know that a hubcap is a perfect serving dish for Eggs Benedict? Because there's no plate-like chrome for the hollandaise.
Jesus Christ.
Wow, that's
brutal. That one comes right at you.
Yep.
I've decided that if Jeremy's going to try and make my life miserable with his movie picks, I'm going to make his life miserable with dad jokes.
Really? That's the reason?
I'm just going to turn up the heat.
Okay.
Oh, thank God.
Every 5 seconds, we have to do a new dad joke.
That's fair.
Jeremy, I have a question for you.
Oh, God.
I know that you have COVID. Does your hair also have COVID?
Yes.
You do look like your hair has COVID.
It's honestly like a month and a half. Like, I was supposed to get a haircut like a week before I went to Florida. And I was like, whatever. And then I get back from Florida and then I missed it because I was like gaming or something. And then I got COVID. Like, it was one of those mass disasters where all of a sudden, like, I am almost 2 months past a haircut.
Yeah.
It's so bad.
I'm not saying
Just
you
do
need
what
it.
everyone else does and go to the barber while you have COVID.
Didn't they shut those down, like, famously?
Oh, yeah,
No
during
more
COVID?
barbers?
Yeah.
and-
And if you went to someone's house, like, you got arrested or shot on sight.
mhm.
I think it was shot. Yeah.
Straight to jail.
You spread COVID. Put on a farm. That's it.
Also, Aaron, what do you know about hair?
I know.
Wow.
I know good hair when I see it.
Ooh.
Fuck yeah.
He covets good
He
hair.
knows it. He knows it so well. He
Covets.
decided to remove himself
He's
from the
a
equation.
connoisseur. He's got many scalps in his basement, just like sitting in formaldehyde.
Nice.
He knows a good scalp when he sees it. Oh boy. I'm so annoyed that John came up with a better podcast title than I did, but it was already too late. The
What?
gang gets in a fight.
Yeah.
Oh,
It was great. All right, who's going first this week?
With what?
Movies.
I have to start my research right now because you guys can't bother to fucking read.
Reading's pretty hard for me. I don't know if you knew. If you made the conversations more interesting, I'd read them. Really what it is I will read anything from the hours of 2 p.m. to 10 p.m. Anything outside of that is a coin flip.
I've had COVID.
But that's not an excuse. That's actually a reason you should have seen it, because you've just been sitting on your couch for the
Dude.
last week.
They made me go to work today with COVID, by the way.
That's gross.
Isn't that cool?
Are you still contagious?
I'm at day 5, which is 6, which is the tail end of like the contagious part. I wore an N95 mask and all that, but we have like emergency protocol, which is I can go to work with a mask with COVID, testing positive. I'm like,
Because you're so understaffed right now?
Yeah.
Because everyone's got it?
I'm like,
I don't think you're helping your cause here, guys.
well, I mean, if I would have felt bad, like real bad, I would have probably went to a lawyer. Like I was like, I've been in that kind of mood lately,
Yeah.
but I was like, I've worked a shitload sicker than this. It just was like, it just felt really gross. Like, yeah, not great. So like day 10 is like Friday night. So that's the end of Contagion, basically. That's the very end, and I should test negative.
Is you going to be at the tournament on Saturday?
That's my plan. But if
I
I'm
think
not,
everyone's going to be there.
but if I'm not, you know why?
Because you're dead.
You're scared.
And also I'm scared.
You went to your lawyer to get you out of going to the tournament.
hmm And also I'm scared.
You sound scared.
When do you go to Spain, Aaron?
Sunday morning.
Sunday.
Oh man.
You're doing like a family vacation too, right? So you're going to be gone for a while?
Yeah, I won't be back for 10 days. It's 10 days gone. So
What's in
Should be-
Spain?
snorkeling in the Med for about 3 days, followed by 3 days of Blood Bowl with about 2,300 other enthusiasts.
Blood boulders.
Yes. It's the Blood Bowl World Cup, held every 4 years in a different city in Europe.
Oh, nice. Is this the one that Richard's going to as well?
Yeah.
Nice.
Unrelated Blood Bowl event in Europe.
Yeah.
In Spain.
In Spain.
So the attendance continues to skyrocket. I forget what it was last time. I want to say 1,500. They were looking to accommodate 2,000, and they ended up hitting about 2,300, which is a lot of people in one fucking place. And now they're running into logistics issues like the kickoff. They won't let more than 600 people in the town square for the kickoff event. They're like, they're still trying to figure that out, plus buses and a bunch of other things. And this is not a group that does it every 4 years. Like the host city or the host nation, whatever team puts it on, has to put it all together. So they're doing a good job. But I would not be surprised for there to be significant logistical glitches.
Yeah.
So this will either be a once in a lifetime thing or an every 4 years thing. We'll see how it goes.
I just can imagine that Fire Festival style event. There's like shit and water running through the middle of it. There's like tents that are just. Have you seen the documentary about that?
No, I have no idea what the fuck you're talking about. That sounds crazy.
Oh yeah, that's the one that was totally a hoax, right? Or rather, it wasn't a hoax, but there's nothing
they
that
just
was
didn't
promised.
know how to do it.
Right? Yeah.
It's just like a bunch of amateur idiots trying to put
yeah.
It was
to put
basically
together
it
a
was a big hype
multi-million
machine.
dollar. Yeah, it was a hyped event.
Flint, Michigan Mega Bowl.
Oh man,
What could go wrong?
and they all showed up, and it was like tents from people who spent, $5,000 on a ticket to go to this thing. It was crazy, and they had to everyone had to go immediately leave. Basically, it was just a toxic waste.
When they got there, it was just a fucking.
It was covered.
burning
It was like all
disaster.
piss and shit, and no food, and like it was awful.
Yeah.
None of the band showed up. Like nobody showed up.
It was a bare island. Like there was almost no civilization on it, and they were like, "This is going to be awesome!" Like a modern day Woodstock, like no holds barred thrill ride, Burning Man, craziness. And then it was just there was zero infrastructure, zero thought, just an island.
There's like, here's a field, do it, and they're like, "What the fuck is the matter with you?"
Oh, even worse. Here's an island.
Yeah.
How do we get everything on and off an island?
Right.
Like it was really fucked, and all these all the models and everybody pimped it on Instagram and all this hardcore
They
press.
spent all their money on advertising and other money on the actual event.
Yep.
It was invented entirely by hype, perpetuated entirely by hype, and then it just imploded. There's a cool documentary about it.
Yeah, it's really interesting. Just watching it tank.
Yeah. It's also a fascinating look at. And it's not like this has happened before. It's happened, this pattern's repeated in history over and over and over again, right? People just believing hype and going cool, and then just showing up and going, "Oh Jesus Christ," and having to deal with it.
I believe our plan was to talk about time, right? Round timers.
Yes, that was one of the ideas.
That sounded convincing.
How much is there to talk about, though? I mean, other than
just I don't think we'll spend all episode talking about it. Just bring it up. We said we would talk about it later, so I feel like we should talk about it.
I put the two ideas in there, and you guys gave some good feedback about my first one, which is a list dojo thing.
Yeah, I would like to do more dojoing.
That was very, very, very well liked. I did not think that would happen, but it was very, very, very well liked.
But I want to do dojo when we have a very specific example, because list building in a vacuum is not necessarily fun. Mm-hmm. When you're I'm trying to cover these matchups with something. What should I play? Or what are my flex options? What missions do I play? I like those conversations because we know what the goal is. But it's all if somebody hands you a list, what do you think? And you're it's a list. And what are you trying to do with it? I think a lot of people just ask that questions, is it perfect? I'm I don't know.
Right. My example was very much your first idea. I had something very specific. I literally have 3 versions of the same affiliation, and I do not know what actually I should expect to do well in a competitive environment. And I'd like to know, maybe it's some combination of them, or it's one of them clearly. So that was my one that I wanted to do. That's why I said I would volunteer. The other idea I had was out of affiliation 2s and 6s, which is most of them we would talk about. Well, we could talk about interesting interactions with factions when we play 2s and 6s out of affiliation in other factions.
I had an interesting idea. I was curious what you guys think. Doing a personal ranking of all the affiliations, 1 through 20 or whatever, and we all show up with our own list, and then we ask everybody across the table, where did you have, in alphabetical order, where did you have Avengers ranked, then where you have A-Force ranked, and then talk about and defend your argument as to why you put them in these places.
Would you say, do you mean overall in the game, or personally what you prefer to play?
Overall in the game.
Oh, okay.
Rank them by power ranking, first to last, and then go through as a group. So we do that individually in between episodes, and then we reveal them on air, and then we talk about how close. I think finding out how close we all are would be interesting, and then also finding out like where the outliers are could be fun.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
Figuring out why we disagree
We'd have to go in rank order, not alphabetical order.
for the reveal.
Yeah.
Why?
Because if we do like, I don't know, Spider Foes, and you're like, it's number 8, and we talk about it, I need to know what is number, 6, 7, 9, and 10 in your mind to see why you put them 8. Because in a vacuum, it's irrelevant. Knowing where you put them in relation to the other models, other affiliations, is relevant, I think.
Well, but I think by the process of us going through and making the list, we will have already worked through in our minds why we think they're in particular places. Like, if I put, for example, Brotherhood at number 3, and Jeremy puts Brotherhood at number 18, like, that could be a talking point. And it's just like, so we know, like, after building the list, we know, like, how many are expected to be above certain teams. Like, well, we know, like, the top 3 is basically X. And so...
Men.
But I don't know. Yeah, X-Men.
Okay. I like the concept, even if we disagree on the execution.
And Aaron's going to be gone for a while, so we won't be able to do this.
I'll be gone for 1 episode. I get back on Tuesday. I'll have to spend all of Wednesday working. I am hopeful that I will be on for that cast, but since it's my first day back with jet lag, put me down as a question mark.
Okay. So gone the 6th and possibly gone the 13th.
Correct. I get back probably around 11 p.m. local time on the 12th.
Okay.
So play that by ear.
We got a little bit of news.
Oh, yeah. That was technically news. Oh, you're putting it on there? Okay. Let me find a copy of it.
I was just going to say the date. I don't really care about the other stuff. I guess the topics are kind of interesting. Most of them are hobby topics, though.
Mm-hmm.
Aaron, you said you're going to Warfare Weekend, right?
I just bought my tickets, so yes.
Warfare?
Mm-hmm. Warfare and LVO.
Do you know the date for Warfare?
First weekend, 3rd through 5th, I think, of November.
I don't know why I was thinking it was in September.
It's always November. And you say you've got a place to stay? We can stay at your parents' house?
Mm-hmm.
That's not an issue at all?
No,
I could do
not
that.
at all. Absolutely.
Is that a going down on Friday? Thursday? When do you plan on going?
I plan on going on Thursday. So I can
Thursday through Sunday?
Uh-huh. Down on Thursday, back on Sunday.
Okay.
Everything is negotiable. That's my plan.
Okay. I'll look at what that looks like at work, but I plan on going.
Okay. Perrin will probably be going at some point. Depends on his school as to if he's going to take off with me on Thursday or he can just take the train in on Friday. TBD.
Okay. Cool. And LVO, you already had tickets for that, didn't you?
Nope. I just bought them.
What?
I have not bought LVO tickets because I was not planning on going.
There are still MCP tickets available for LVO. Let's put it that way.
Mm-hmm. I just think it's expensive with also going to Europe this year.
Oh,
I would like to go to LVO.
I don't disagree with you at all.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get through this year with all of my gaming and travel commitments and then take a look at my checkbook and hope I have some money left in it.
Yeah.
I was excited to go to maybe Adepticon next year as well as WTC if you guys are going back. But if they're going to do this event, I don't know. If it's going to be the premium event, it's going to be this weird thing. I don't know if I'm going to want to do it.
So let's talk about that for a second, because I've read and heard a lot of vitriol about this timeline event.
Do we want to do this during the episode? I feel like this would be better in the episode.
Sure.
All right, I'll just put it in as a topic: is timeline, event, and conventions. So, Jeremy, wife walks up to her husband, says, "I'm pregnant." He says, "Hi, pregnant. I'm dad." And wife says, "No, you're not."
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess I didn't get
tickets.
Do you get it? No.
It's because he's not the father.
Cool.
Didn't get tickets to what?
LVO yet.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Yeah, you should do that.
Huh. Well.
So it's like, was it a week, 2 weeks after we get back? 1 week after we get back is Warfare? Yeah, we get back on the 23rd, and it is
2 weeks after that.
2 weeks after that. And then LBO is obviously in January. If lodging is potentially available, then I might be willing to go to Warfare. I was expecting it to be a lot more expensive by getting a room.
So rooms are 100% available. I just have to, because I think I invited Richard as an open invitation. Jeremy, you. At some point, we're out of beds. So.
Oh, I bring my own bed.
Right. So there is plenty of room in the house. I want to say there are 3 open beds. 4. There are 4 open beds. So clearly I'm in one. So 3 other people get beds, and after that, people just crash on air mattresses. But there's unlimited room.
Unlimited, you say?
Yes.
Good, because I invited 16 friends.
Awesome. Between the ages of 21 and 34.
Yeah.
5'8" to 6'2". I approve.
All right, you guys ready to start?
Mm-hmm.
Alrighty. So we still haven't decided who's going first in this old drafty poo.
I can go first.
All right. I'm going to go second.
So first off,
I'll go third.
What is the?
Got it.
You have to name.
Is post-apocalyptic movie set in a post-apocalyptic setting?
Mm-hmm.
In water.
You said or
not in
no.
water. Not in water. God damn it! I'm fucking killing
In water.
Starring Kevin Costner.
Kevin Costner movie set in a water-type world, starring Kevin Costner.
Produced by Adam Sandler.
Brandon gets to go second.
Okay.
Like,
So wait a second, Parker. You said all apocalypse movies, which include the apocalyptic event in the plot. Is that still valid? Or is it post-apocalypse only?
When I pitched these,
we didn't go there.
Yeah,
the apocalypse, I think, is fine.
I said
like Deep Impact would count.
Yes, I think we should start with the widest version of everything and then get narrower later. So
okay,
yes,
I mean, we're not going to literally just go in and just tighten things up and redo everything.
Right?
But
yeah.
yes,
yeah. It's apocalypse movie in general. It can include the disaster
movie where the setting or theme is apocalypse based.
Right.
Okay, well, I've got 8, and that's a lot more than I thought I'd get.
Yeah.
Okay.
I have 6. I have 6 in the hopper, but I'm ready to start. Who's third?
I've written nothing down. I expect everything to go great.
Who's third?
I'm third.
Aaron, Jeremy's last.
Okay, here we go.
Oh, Jesus.
My first one, the reason why I wanted to go first, I want to make sure nobody stole this one because it's one of my favorite movies in the whole world.
God damn it.
Reign of Fire.
Oh God.
That's a rain as in royal rain, by the way.
Reign of Fire.
Star-studded cast of Christian Bale
Matthew
and
McConaughey.
In which Matthew McConaughey is the buff dude.
Yeah, Matthew McConaughey is the most American you can be. Yeah. It's what an English person.
He's an American dwarf.
Yeah. Sean Connery is the voice of the dragon, isn't he?
That's Dragonheart.
That is a different movie.
Oh, that's Dragonheart. Sorry.
That's Dragonheart. I am the lost. I'm the lost.
I am the lost.
But Reign of Fire is absolutely one of the coolest post-apocalyptic stories I've ever seen because they decided to go.
It is very unique and original. I did like it.
When they take, as soon as you hear the actual cause of the apocalypse is dragons, you immediately go, "Oh, this movie has got to be terrible." And then you watch, you're like, "Wait a minute, this movie is actually really fun to watch," and it's not
actually.
It's really interesting.
It's basically just Terminator Salvation with a slightly different tweak to the plot.
Yeah, but
the
dragon biology thing, and it all works.
They do a good job of making it feel realistic and not campy. So mine is going to be Fury Road, Mad Max Fury Road.
Yeah, that was on my list too.
I lost that one. I'll cross that off.
It's fun. Yeah. Big fan of that one. It is. I've only seen 2 of the Mad Maxes, of the originals, and I feel like I should watch the other one.
But you haven't seen Beyond Thunderdome?
I have not.
Oh,
I think
shit.
I've seen like 5 minutes of it, but I was so young. I was like, "Oh, this must be Thunderdome." And 'cause, like, I'm really good at just taking a really tiny, like 10-second clip and going, "I bet I know what movie this is." I'm really good at that, even if I haven't seen the movie.
Yeah.
I will tell you that what we just talked about, Rain of Fire, like somehow didn't make it campy. The first Mad Max does that, and then it goes downhill real fast. Like,
Well, to my understanding, Road Warrior is widely considered the best of the original.
yeah, it's by far the most grounded. Yes, it's by far the most grounded.
Anyway, moving on. Aaron, you're up.
Clearly, my number one pick is The Matrix.
Yeah.
Oh, fuck. How many am I going to have left here?
I don't know.
I didn't include that, but I
initially said, but that's not and then I thought about it, I'm like,
yeah, it is.
It absolutely is, yeah.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, so... Go ahead.
My only pushback, I'm not arguing against it, it's fine. I'm just thinking, I wish you got to see more of the apocalyptic part of the world in the first one, but you only really see when he gets woken up, so...
True, but so when I'm thinking, unless a sequel is significantly better than the predecessor, I will always pick the first of a series or a trilogy.
100%.
Just because it starts it off. Like, you can't have the second or third without it. So I totally agree. Like, the third is so much more set in that post-apocalyptic dystopian setting. But I would still go with... I mean, we could say the Matrix trilogy if you want.
No, it's fine. No, the Matrix is a good pick. I like it. No, you're good. And obviously, we all know about the Matrix. So, Jeremy, you get to get back-to-backs here. You get to snake it. You playing some
12 Monkeys.
Ooh,
Fun, fucking nominal. Based on my life right now with COVID.
12 Monkeys is a fun one.
Oh man, Brad Pitt is so good in that.
He's so hot right now. All right, what's next?
Book of Eli.
Eli.
I know you like that one.
That scene when he slides into the shadow, he goes, he can't talk. He's in shock. And you're like, he's got no hand.
Dude, there's so many good fucking scenes in that movie.
Yeah.
So good.
I actually haven't seen that either.
Oh, it's a good
one. I've seen so many clips from it, I could tell you what happens in the movie, but I just haven't seen it.
That was the first time that the name Eli started popping up all over the fucking place.
Yeah, and I forgot your kid.
Yeah, my kid's name popped up, and I was like, oh, that is a good catchy name. Yeah.
So, Aaron, you're number 2.
If you guys are going to give me softballs, I'll take them. Terminator 3, Rise of the Machines.
Ooh, we went with 3.
It's Makes the sense. Only one
that
actually has an apocalyptic event.
We're accepting post-apocalyptic, though.
Okay, you're right. I don't count anything after the original trilogy. So I would not take Salvation.
So you're saying...
So, and the reason...
Salvation worse than Rise of the Machines?
Well, so he didn't Rise say of the Machines... It's his favorite.
It is... No. Nothing beats the original. Okay? And I actually think they build on each other. Like, there are great reasons to watch T2 and then T3. So I think T3
is straight superior.
Is what?
Is that the one with the mother of
straight
dragons?
Superior to the rest.
Sure. But T3's ending almost redeems it. Not that it's a bad movie. But
the bunker.
Yeah, well, Terminator 2 is all about stopping Judgment Day, right?
So in Terminator 3, the expectation for the audience is that, it's just going to keep doing the same thing. And they didn't. They just said, nope, it's happening.
Nope, and here is fucking Nuke the World. And everyone in the audience is like shell-shocked. Like, oh my god, what the fuck? So I really love when movies have an unforeseen, if you will, plot twist in them.
Yeah.
I hate
not even necessarily a twist, just like a shock moment.
Sure.
Yeah, that's fair.
That is more than just shock value itself, right? Like, I don't do shock value for shock value, but like it really made sense in the movie, right? So
it's a payoff of what they promise, right? It's a payoff.
Yep. Yeah. It's like, no, this is happening. Like, it really turns the entire premise on its head, right? The whole thing is, no, you have free will, you can change the future. Oh, turns out you fucking can't. So anyway, T3 is still my pick for this one.
I have a question. Are we intentionally not naming things we've already named?
That's going to be number 3 on my list. I'm probably
Right.
going to
So
skip
if
it.
you're
but
repeating, if you are repeating, I'm repeating. But I just want to make sure you were not before I didn't.
I'm going to give it an honorable mention instead of repeating.
I'm not
Okay.
repeating.
Okay.
But if you feel you must.
I guess I'll go with Zombieland.
Hmm.
It's a great movie.
Yeah, go ahead and scratch it off, bro.
You could say Zombieland 2.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay, you can say Zombieland too.
No,
Zombieland 2. Zombieland is one of those that like really captured something super special, and the second one, it wasn't a bad movie. It just
Yeah.
couldn't deliver what the first one delivered.
No, it was
I
just
think
more the
they're-
same.
Yeah.
I think they're both fine.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know that I view them differently. Kind of like Deadpool 1 and 2. Everyone says Deadpool 2 is better. I don't personally see it. I think they're both like
They're
there.
both great.
Yeah, like I don't think that the difference between them is a measurable difference.
No, I don't
And
either.
so, yeah. It's like, put either of them on. I don't care. I will watch them both in any order you choose.
Mhm.
But yeah. Next up is Parker. You got your last 2 picks.
Okay, so I'm going to start off with this is one that some people just hated because it's so different than the first iteration, but they remade it into what I think is a completely different movie, Dredd, which was not a sequel
Ooh.
to the original Judge Dredd with Sylvester Stallone, the law, but rather which
The
is
Carl Urban good one?
It's
Carl
it's
Urban.
definitely not a remake. It's
No.
just another Dredd movie.
Yeah, and I think Dredd is a great post-apocalyptic movie. It is awesome, every with super future post-apocalypse kind of stuff. But my favorite part of it is they made a character that you really, really cared about, and he has like maybe 24 lines in the whole thing. It's just super interesting characterization they tried in that. That was a big risk, and I like it. I think it paid off.
My favorite fan comment on a movie review site I found was, watch Carl Urban act circles around Sylvester Stallone using only 1/3 of his face.
Yeah,
It's just like, fucking yes.
and a third of the lines, like it's
yeah,
oh
like
my
he
God.
basically doesn't talk.
yeah.
Like, it's so great. I didn't even consider Dredd for post-apocalyptic because it takes place entirely within a metropolis. But yeah, that's good. I would have picked Dredd if I had thought about it.
Yeah.
It was on my list.
Yeah, that's a good one. All right, what's the last one?
I'm actually going to go with the other Kevin Costner movie, The Postman.
Fuck you. God damn it.
And the Postman makes my list no matter what because it was like one of my dad's like signature movies. When we were bored, we watched The Postman, and I've seen that movie so many times. You spelled tyranny wrong. Just like these little lines all over the place. I loved it. Super campy movie, but
Okay.
a lot of fun.
I'm taking Waterworld.
You should.
Yep. I was going to name Idiocracy, but we're not duping, so Waterworld it is. There's a lot of movies I wanted to pick, but they're all like not good, but I love them, and so I don't know. I might get blown up for some of these bad movies.
Dude, Waterworld
I
is
love
so just... I could watch it all the time. It's so
What is?
stupid. Waterworld. Like,
Oh,
it's
yeah,
just...
yeah.
I don't know, something about it. Like, it's fine.
It's like
It's
Skills.
yeah.
Anyway, Aaron, you're up.
You guys took all of mine.
Took all. You said you had 8.
I know, but now I'm digging into like 6, 7, 8. I'm not. Go ahead.
There's one that I wanted to say that I can tell you if you want to take it.
Well, I have to watch these. I'm pretty sure
I
you're not
doubt
gonna.
you
You're
will.
not gonna name one that I have
Yeah,
watched.
I think I have one that Jeremy might take.
I'm not. Yeah, we're gonna do this. It's gonna be Hunger Games.
Okay.
Is it post-apocalyptic?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not a big Hunger Game person, so I don't really know what the setting is. I
absolutely
assumed it was just the established status quo forever. I didn't.
No, it's not an alternate.
It's like a rebuild after something.
It's a
happened.
rebuild
Okay.
after an apocalyptic setting. Yeah.
Well, there you go. I didn't even know that.
It's just like Dredd, right? There's a new
Yeah,
society
similar. Yeah.
after.
Yeah.
Obviously, it is not like a great film, but it did a lot. I think it is a good movie, well worth watching.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I also think I just wish that the writer of the books just kind of spent more time on the last one because I feel like the last one it really flies off the rails for some reason. But every other one is just really entertaining, the books and the movies. But the last one I feel like just got really weird.
All right, Jeremy. Last pick coming in hard.
Escape from New York.
Ooh.
Snake Plissken, yo.
Wait, you already used that one.
I didn't use
No, he
Escape
didn't.
from New York. No.
I'm very
Snake
sure.
Plissken.
I'm going to go out say something that might make people upset if they're listening. I was sure that Escape from New York for a long time was some sort of like B hack version of Escape from LA. Because Escape from LA was the first one I ever watched because it came out when I was a kid, and so I loved Escape from LA, and so every once in a while Escape from New York would pop up, but like what asshole tried to copy this, and then I found out it's him younger and it's the same character. I was like, oh shit, I've been watching a sequel this whole time. I had no idea. Yeah.
I like Escape from LA a lot. I don't think I've seen Escape from New York all the way through. I've seen like half of it, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I grew up with that one. That was so good at the time. We ready for honorable mentions?
Yeah, go for it.
So, Brandon, you should put these under the poll.
Honorable mentions?
Yeah.
No, it's taking way too long.
That also might confuse people, probably.
That's,
fine.
And also, like...
They'll listen.
People can
No, they don't. They fucking respond immediately with fire and vitriol. I cannot fucking believe you didn't mention X. We're like, yeah, we actually talked about it as our honorable mention and gave it lots of really good accolades. But sure, just flame us for no reason.
All right, the one that I love that I didn't mention here. I went with all dark, grungy ones, but WALL-E is a really good one.
WALL-E's good.
WALL-E's good. I'm kind of surprised nobody went the biblical apocalypse. My favorite biblical apocalypse movie is Legion.
I haven't seen it.
I've never seen it.
Oh, Legion is super fun movie.
Oh, I have seen it. I have seen that.
Paul Bettany plays Michael, the archangel Michael.
I have seen that. I didn't like that movie. Yeah, I didn't like that one.
It's like a weird action horror apocalypse mix. It's a kooky movie.
So my two honorable mentions were Edge of Tomorrow and End of Days.
Haven't seen End of Days.
It's just like Legion, but different actors.
Is Edge of Tomorrow the Tom Cruise one?
No, that's Edge of Tomorrow is the Tom Cruise one.
If you want a really shitty one that's fun to watch, may I suggest The Core?
That is a really crappy one. I can't, as anyone who knows anything about the Earth.
I know, right? You have to completely throw science out the window. But you know that going in. Like I hate the movie Sunshine for that same problem.
Yeah.
But also the movie just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. One movie that
you know what you're getting into when you watch The Core.
My last one that I wanted
Armageddon. No one named Armageddon.
I actually one of the ones that I love. But it's my wife hates it. We watched it one day because I was like, "What is this movie?" We watched it because I think it's an art film masquerading as an apocalypse film. Is Snowpiercer? You guys have watched Snowpiercer?
Everyone talks about Snowpiercer.
I've really enjoyed it. My wife hated it, and she was like, "Wow, this wasn't because she likes all post-apocalyptic movies." And I was like, "I think it's a post-apocalyptic movie." Yeah, it's the train one. And she's like, "There wasn't any really post-apocalyptic themes in it, really." And I was like, "No, not really. It was really just." Like an art movie, like a big allegory for class differences, but it was fun to watch. I thought it was fun to watch.
I think that's probably a fair statement. The one I was going to suggest you name, Jeremy, was Resident Evil.
No.
As lame as that movie is, it's surprisingly good. For the first one. The rest of them are all trash.
I was going to actually throw one in as a troll. A troll one, Interview with a Vampire or something like that, just to really get you, it's to watch you freak the fuck out. I'm
just gonna every time you do that from now on, I'm just gonna put in a really shitty movie, just replace it on the list.
I'm like The Mummy with Brendan Fraser.
The Mummy Returns. No, The Scorpion King. Every time you say something shitty, it's gonna be The Scorpion King. That doesn't fit in the category of Scorpion King.
We actually didn't. I noticed we actually didn't list a lot of disaster movies. There's a lot of disaster movies. My favorite is The Day After Tomorrow. Yep. I love. But we didn't list.
I don't think that movie holds up. I used to like it too, but the more I watch it, I'm like, This is really just a CGI film. Like, there's really not much to it other than that.
Oh, all of those are definitely
Yeah.
eye candy films. Like, it's all just like watching landmarks get demolished or whatever.
Ooh.
But
I do
You know what
enjoy
we-
Armageddon.
You know what we
a lot.
should have named? Battle LA.
yeah, Battle of LA, I think would
When
work.
the aliens invade.
hmm
That's a good one.
The thing for me is, I will, with the day after tomorrow, I will watch Emmy Rossum. I don't care. I just, she's so hot. I don't care. She's one of the only
When she
actresses.
gets cold, you would put a blanket on her.
Yeah,
to keep her
she's
warm.
yeah.
Would you fight wolves?
I
Yeah,
would help her stay warm.
I would take a wolf to the arm for that woman.
Is she on your laminated 5?
Yeah. The funny thing is, when I told Sarah, I told my wife that she's on it, and she's like, Emmy Rossum, and she looked at the picture, she goes, wow, she looks remarkably like me, and I went, yes, that is not accident. I was like, she does look similar. There are lots of similarities. That's on purpose.
Emmy Ross.
That was by design.
She looks kind of familiar.
Yeah, Parker's
Have you-
wife.
Have
Yeah.
you met
Yeah.
Sarah?
Hello,
Have you met her?
Sarah.
Yeah.
She has not been in a lot of things.
No, she's not a prolific. She's actually she was a prolific singer before she became an actress.
God, why couldn't I have thought of it? Twister.
Twister. That's not Apocalypse.
I know.
Fucking slap the shit out of you.
That would have been a really
I
good
would
to make
have been
him
very
mad.
upset.
That would have been perfect. That would have been a perfect one
See,
to throw in
we
there.
gotta
It literally
like,
kills
slow
0 people.
tangents. And finally,
No
I
one
can finally,
dies in that
I
fucking
can move.
movie.
I can move away just enough to skirt the edges and then fall off the page.
No.
Yeah.
No.
And
See, that's
Twister.
really your job now, is to
Yep.
every time you hear the category, first think of 3 movies, then think of the 4th movie that can't be in the
the
category.
4th, the 5th, and then the 6th is the one I
Yeah.
gotta drop.
Jeremy, do I need to read you another one?
No,
Okay.
I'll be good.
Okay. God, I actually came up with another one that I was said we should have named, but I can't think of it now. I'm so distracted. Good job.
I got so upset.
I was so upset. I was ready to start throwing bows. Cool. All right, so we're moving the movie poll to premium only, so it's Patreon ad wall blocked. What do you guys think?
Oh my god.
Either we will make infinite money, or we'll be out of business. There's no in between.
Wait, is this for real? Are you thinking about moving
No,
it?
we're not doing that.
Come on.
All of a
please
sudden,
don't.
there's only one folder.
There's just one
Yeah.
folder.
Son of a bitch.
Everything is in Patreon now.
So we're going to move it to Patreon, but make Patreon free. So we're back where we started.
But we're not going to tell anyone it's free.
Oh man. So I started playing Minecraft again, right?
Yeah.
And what are those called? Crawlers or something? What the fuck are those
Creepers?
things? Creepers.
The green ones? Creepers.
Man, am I learning the hard way about some fucking crazy shit in
Yeah.
that game.
Learning Minecraft the hard way is the best.
So
Like, not for you, for people to watch.
I
Because
had
it's just like, God damn it.
I had been compiling all kinds of shit in what I would call my quote unquote base. And I'd
Mhm.
built up
Your
all
dirt
these
house.
chests. Yeah, whatever, my
Fucking
dirt house.
It's
And
3x2, just
this
fucking
fucking
dirt house.
creeper comes up, explodes. It explodes. My chests explode inside this dirt house.
And then second creeper goes off, breaks all your stuff.
Dude, there was like 40 diamonds. There was gold everywhere.
Mhm.
I couldn't scoop it up. I had to go out, try to build a chest. When I came back, it was
You're
all
like trying to
gone.
build a chest while more creepers
was all
are
gone.
coming. You're like, God damn
Yeah,
it.
it was all gone. I lost it
Do
all.
you know the trick, actually? Don't respawn till daytime.
Want to know a fun little fun fact? We're talking about like how the nerds that make Minecraft, right? How intense is their nerddom and love for their game?
If you tell the story I was about to tell, I'm going to be pissed.
Okay, this is about creepers specifically. So,
God damn it.
did I tell you this
Fine.
story?
No, I know this story on my own.
Oh, really?
Go ahead, tell him. Tell
Okay.
him.
So, if you're underground in cave systems, sometimes you'll hear this music being played, and it's very eerie and very ominous and very strange. But it doesn't really have a melody. It's just kind of this weird, kind of discordant, like frequencies playing. It's just kind of creepy sounding. But a lot of people thought for a long time it was just a creepy thing the developers wanted. So when you're underground, you feel unnerved. Well, come to find out, if you take that exact recording and you put it in what's called an audio spectrogram, which draws you a picture over time of the frequencies in a sound bite, it creates a perfect creeper just in the spectrogram.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's not the story I was.
Yeah, the spectrogram.
Awesome.
Normally the spectrogram just looks like any audio thing, right? Lots of waves, lots of colors. It doesn't look like anything. It's just staticky.
But they just put it in there and reversed it.
Yes, exactly.
And
They
like,
found
give us
out
noise.
Yes, exactly. They found out exactly what noises would make a perfect, instead of a staticky looking nonsense, it literally forms a perfect creeper. And so what it looks like if you're looking at a spectrogram, because it kind of moves, shuffles sideways over time. And so it literally, like as soon as that cave sound happens, a creeper just kind of slowly moves across the spectrogram and then away. It's really,
Cool.
you want to talk about like attention to detail, super duper nerdy thing to include in your game.
So do you know where creepers came from, Jeremy?
No.
They were not originally part of Minecraft's design, and they fucked up programming pigs. And so originally they tried to program a pig, and they fucked up the code, and so it made it into a quadruped human-like pixel. And then they fucked up the skin, and it skinned it with, like, grass. And that's why it's green. And
Are you
so
serious?
They log in, and they, like, turn around, and there's a creeper, and the guy literally, like, screamed and jumped away from his fucking monitor, and he's like, oh, shit, that thing's scary as fuck. And then they left it in the game. They gave it a purpose. And now it scares people.
All I know is those motherfuckers, like,
they're
of
annoying.
all the things, those are the most annoying shits.
The trick is turn up your mob volume so you can hear them in advance. Because the only reason they ever get you is because you don't know they're there. Because like I play the game with I listen to music while I'm playing Minecraft, and so I don't know there's a creeper behind me, and it just blows up and it pisses me off. And so I just crank up the mob volume to where when you can hear the gunpowder noise, and then you know to fucking run.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Well, I went ahead and dug the fuck out and got a giant ass hole and put my shit way deep. That way that shit will never happen like that again. That was very upsetting.
You know they spawn underground, right?
Well, whatever. The one above my head won't happen again.
Do you know how mob spawning works?
Huh?
Okay, we'll talk about it tomorrow. Anyway, moving on. Wait, you're not gonna be at the store tomorrow?
No.
Okay,
I
we'll
am
talk
still.
about it later then.
I have the COVID. Remember?
The Rona. All right. Anything else you guys want to do before we get out of here?
One more thing.
Jeremy dies of COVID.
So I'm not at the store tomorrow. So before that, I was looking at my list. I think I want to take out MODOK and put in Ulik.
What?
If you have the advanced
fucking
R&D
insane?
play already in there, I don't think you actually mind it.
No,
He's not
I think
in
it's
Cabal, though, right?
actually good.
He's in Cabal.
Ulik is Cabal.
Oh, I didn't think he was. I thought he was only criminals.
That's why I mentioned him before earlier. I was like, is he in
Because
there?
one of the only static models in the list is MODOK, and
you're planning on not using Mal's leadership?
I mean, you can.
I personally think you guys are both fucking insane, and Mal's leadership is way better than Red Skull's leadership. However, I understand the concept you're going with. And so if you're intentionally not playing static models to take advantage of it, that's fine. And, Ulik just needs a little bit more power, and so as soon as he gets on the gravy train, he's always throwing shit.
Yeah, if you get a advanced, if you have an advanced R&D plan in lists and Ulik is an option, I think you take him.
Then it's just like free.
I just think as a 5-point, I think that MODOK tends to get himself trapped, and he can't really move, and people tend to control him a lot.
Well, your leader does have a place ability, but I know you're not trying to use it constantly.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's a whole different thing. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There's also something to be said about Ulik you're talking about like variability. Ulik can receive the advanced R&D to become that like deep, get in your guts model, or he has 2 power and he can actually use R&D to give it to somebody else at the beginning of the game. You're like, oh, well, the deployment didn't work out like I thought.
That would not be, no.
I'm saying
it's just
it's
an
an
emergency audible.
It's an option, as opposed to
Yeah.
MODOK. MODOK is not an option for that. I'm just saying it's an option that MODOK doesn't provide.
And who
No.
knows? You could also like walk forward, punch somebody, then play advanced R&D.
Right.
Who knows?
I think it becomes kind of crazy when I do the give a power to Malekith, give a power to Ulick, give a power to what's his name?
Zemo,
No, the guy who
Heimdall.
places Heimdall.
Heimdall.
Then Ulick can do his leap, and he's in the center of the table. Malekith gets placed to the center of the table, and then that's like a crazy amount of threat. Or Ulick gets placed, or whatever. I mean, it's just a crazy threat. And then Ulick has damage reduction. He becomes a tough model. The list doesn't have a ton of tough models, and it doesn't have a bunch of like size 4 throwers. He can throw size 4.
I think.
What do you think
one of
about that, Aaron? Do you hate it?
I don't hate it.
Another
No, I
thing.
think it's fine.
Another thing about Ulick is Ulick does not like being the only scary model that can dive. But if you have 2 scary models that are diving, he'll go way deep, and then somebody else will come behind him. Because if he's all by himself, he can die. But if you actually have other models pressuring 2, then your opponent has to make a Sophie's choice, and it's hard.
Well, I also like him potentially if we're playing center, if they're trying to play big boys on the center. I think that he would be a good model to stay alive on the center with potentially Scourge, being able to shunt off damage and stuff. You just never kill that pile. Like there becomes like an unkillable pile with damage reduction and taunt and all of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. Especially if there's some big terrain on the table. I like being able to have the throw a size 4 option, because I don't have much of that.
Yay, I'm helping.
Cool. All right. Well, let's get out of here.
Cool.
Good night. Good night, everybody.
Good night.